Before Mayor Parker calls the meeting to order, we ask that you please silence all electronic devices. For those of you who have requested to speak, there are 2 podiums in the chamber. The podium in the back is for individuals with mobility concerns. We ask all other speakers to step forward to the front podium. Each podium has a countdown clock located to the speaker's right that will indicate how much time is remaining. A bell will sound when you have 30 seconds left. Speakers registered on the consent agenda item will be taken following announcements of any items being pulled from the consent agenda. Speakers registered on non-consent items other than public hearings and zoning cases will be taken following council announcements. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to speak on all items within those blocks. Before you begin your comments, please state your name. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to your Fort Worth City Council meeting. Today is August 13th, 2024. I do not have a gavel, so we're going to pretend and use my phone. I feel like that's still okay, yes? Call to order, and Jeanette, the floor is back to you.
Tonight's invocation will be by Pastor Jeff York from Lakeland Street Baptist Church. Please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the pledges of allegiance.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight, and we're so very thankful that, Lord, you have allowed us to be here tonight and to assemble here tonight. And Father, we pray that, dear God, everything that would be done tonight would first and foremost be glorifying and honoring to you. Father, we ask, God, that you would help the decisions that are made tonight be wise and godly decisions. Lord, we do pray for our country. And Lord, we pray, God, that you would bless our country, this great United States of America. And Father, we do pray that you bless our great state of Texas as well. And we pray that you bless our great city of Fort Worth. And now, dear Lord, we pray that, Father, everything that is done and said tonight would glorify and honor you. And we'll be careful to give you the praise and the honor and the glory for everything that happens tonight. For it's in Jesus' name we ask and pray. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now to honor the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Our first item will be a special presentation with the presentation of a proclamation for the 100th anniversary of the Oakhurst neighborhood.
Thank you, Jeanette, and I should have told you this before we invite our friends from Oakhurst down to the podium. It's with a very heavy heart that we have to open our meeting tonight in honor of Sergeant Billy Randolph. We'll also close our meeting in his honor, but I thought it was important. We have such a great presence of people that care about our city so deeply. We ask a few simple things. The first is that you keep our police department in your prayers and your thoughts on the next coming days. It's been a very difficult last 24 hours. You would be proud to have watched your police officers rally together as a family, but I know that it's an incredibly difficult time for them. And of course, to the Randolph family. They were incredibly strong yesterday watching them gather together. I want to be present for that press conference. It was quite humbling, I must say, but it will be difficult for them in coming days as well. Tomorrow night, there will be a vigil at the South Patrol Division at 7:30 p.m. The entire community is welcome to attend. And we will also hold services for him later to be announced. I think the next few days you'll hear details of that as well. We all hope this serves as a reminder of the duty and responsibility we have as stewards on this council. I know all of us have had a heavy heart that while these jobs are important, we have men and women that are willing to put on a uniform every single day, and it may be their last. Sergeant Randolph served our police department for 29 years, was getting near retirement, and we were reminded yesterday that he did not have to be doing the job he was doing. He could have been retired somewhere. He certainly did not have to work midnights, which he chose to work. And he was out there on I-35 with his men and women because he wanted to be right there beside them doing his job. And in listening to his family and his friends and his fellow officers talk, that's just the kind of guy he was. And you had officers from all over this area come to be with us as we did the procession from JPS Hospital to the ME's office, and have trickled in since then. So thank you to this wonderful city for reminding us what makes us great. And it really is the men and women in blue. If you'd bow your heads and please give a moment of silence to Sergeant Randolph. Thank you. Thank you. And to our friends from Oakhurst, please join us at the podium. We really appreciate you being here today. And I think this one is going to be with Councilmember Beck. Oh, sorry, old redistricting habit. I apologize, Jeanette.
Mayor and Council, thank you so much. I'm very excited to present this proclamation to the Oakhurst Neighborhood Association on their centennial anniversary. This proclamation was presented at their event on June 15th, so it is in ratification that I'll be reading it this evening. So this proclamation celebrates the history, achievements, and residents of the Oakhurst Neighborhood Association of Fort Worth throughout its 100 years. And under the leadership of Katie Owens, they have continued their legacy of being a strong, united neighborhood association. It was a wonderful event. PD, Fire was there. They had a lot of neighbors, and it was at Oakhurst Park. And so I think FOOP is also here, which is a part of this historic neighborhood. So I will read it now. So whereas in 1924, Fort Worth businessmen John P. King and V.S. Wardlaw began developing a neighborhood through their Oakhurst Land Company, Inc., with the platting of the first 168 lots in 8 blocks, and whereas the Oakhurst Land Company made these lots available to the public by officially placing them on the market on June 15, 1924, with construction of the first home completed in August 1924. And whereas residents of the Oakhurst established one of the first neighborhood associations in Fort Worth, the Oakhurst Neighborhood Association, in 1981. They also established the first Citizens on Patrol unit in Fort Worth, assisting the Fort Worth Police Department with neighborhood patrols. And whereas over the past 100 years, Oakhurst has been named Fort Worth's Neighborhood of the Year, a record-setting 3 times in 2006, 2010, and 2022, and has won National Neighborhood Awards. And whereas in 2010, the Oakhurst Historic District was listed on the National Register of Historic Places of the U.S. Department of the Interior, the official list of the nation's historic places worthy of preservation. And whereas Oakhurst and its residents continue to promote community, teamwork, beautification, preservation, and safety through their neighborhood groups and events. And whereas the Fort Worth City Council recognizes the 100-year history of the Oakhurst neighborhood and the Oakhurst Neighborhood Association for all it has done and continues to do for its residents, the Riverside community, and the city of Fort Worth. Now, therefore, the city of Fort Worth does hereby celebrate the centennial anniversary of the Oakhurst neighborhood in the city of Fort Worth. If you could join me in the plaza. And so Katie, president of the Neighborhood Association, will say a few words.
Mayor Parker, council members, good evening. Thank you for this recognition. And Councilwoman Martinez, thank you for championing this proclamation. We are so grateful to have a present, gracious, and generous representative of District 11. Thank you to each of you for everything that you do for the citizens of Fort Worth. On behalf of the Neighborhood Association, we are excited to share this 100th anniversary with our neighbors, our community leaders, and our friends and family. For anyone who has lived in, visited, or otherwise had the opportunity to be welcomed into Oakhurst, there is no denying it is a very special place. The fact that Oakhurst has remained a welcoming and safe neighborhood for 100 years is no small feat, and it is the continual commitment of our neighbors to not only the neighborhood, but to each other that has led us here today. I'm joined by some of our neighbors this evening, and along with the Neighborhood Association, we also have 2 other special groups who do so much for Oakhurst. That's our Citizens on Patrol and the Friends of Oakhurst Park, or FOOP. Thank you for this recognition again, and together we can ensure that Oakhurst remains an exemplary neighborhood for the next 100 years and beyond. Thank you.
So we're going to take a picture now. Will my colleagues join me? This truly is, the oldest neighborhood in the city of Fort Worth, and just if you want to join us in a historic picture.
Next will be any items to be withdrawn from the consent agenda,
There are no items to be withdrawn from the consent agenda,
items to be continued or withdrawn by staff.
and there are no items to be continued or withdrawn by staff.
Mayor, that gets us to the consent agenda speakers.
Thank you very much. Our first speaker is Lee Spikerman, followed by Dominique Alexander. Is Lee here? No. Lee Spikerman? Dominique Alexander? Oh, there you are, Lee. Come on down. We're fine. Are you Lee? Hi, Lee, please. Please proceed. Thank you.
Again, I'm Lee Speakerman. The egregious termination and character assassination of former police chief Dr. Joel Fitzgerald irreparably impaired his earnings and his reputation. The settlement at least provides closure. Under Chief Fitzgerald, Fort Worth police achieved the greatest reduction in murder and other violent crime of any comparable city in Texas and among the greatest in America. This, while Joel's son LJ was beset with a brain tumor requiring extended care and harrowing brain surgeries. Chief Fitzgerald's great success in Fort Worth led Baltimore to recruit him for its higher paying chief position to rescue a department in crisis. Fort Worth's mayor, city manager, and other staff spoke for Joel, were recorded on video before the Baltimore Search Committee. They all extolled Joel Fitzgerald. Joel was also acclaimed by all the community leaders that Baltimore spoke with. Shortly thereafter, Chief Fitzgerald was celebrated on Good Morning America. Then suddenly, inexplicably, city leaders turned on him. They presented a politically ambitious police sergeant who said that he'd had a public dust-up with Joel at a cleat conference, later utterly and totally debunked by numerous very credible witnesses. Incredibly, after lauding Joel with the Baltimore Search Committee, they publicly lambasted him as disloyal for even entertaining the position and disingenuously derided his performance. They left out that Joel had slashed crime, had glowing community testimonials, and merit-based pay increases. This crazy U-turn didn't make sense until it came out that Joel had uncovered flagrant city staff IT violations and other possible official malfeasance. Just hours before Joel was set to lay it all out before FBI investigators, he was fired. According to the wrongful termination case judge, city staff didn't come close to following proper termination procedures. The state ruled the termination was totally unjustified. Shockingly, the judge also said she didn't think testimony from the city manager, our city manager, and city staff was credible. She added, quote, "It stinks." Following in his dad's footsteps, Joel's son Christopher was a police officer in the Philadelphia area. Had Joel not been forced out, he would have been an officer in our area. But last year, Christopher was gunned down trying to stop a carjacking. City Hall's mission statement is Fort Worth will be the most livable and the best managed city in the country, and ours may well be the most livable. But the sloppily executed railroading of our first black police chief certainly proves it hasn't been the best managed.
Thank you, Lee. Our next speaker is Dominique Alexander.
Thank you.
Is Mr. Alexander here? Adrian Smith?
Adrian Smith, I am one with the people, Madam Mayor, Council, Fort Worth. And I will just continue as the last gentleman did. $9,600,000. Full and final settlement as it relates to the wrongful termination of Chief Joel Fitzgerald, Mr. William Burchett, and Mr. Ronald Burke. Closure at last. However, I'm sure you would have rather continued serving in a profession that means so much to you. No one's livelihood should be upended because they are fighting for a just purpose. And the last gentleman spoke well, so I won't go too much more into that. But to the taxpayers of Fort Worth, $9,600,000. That's what it's costing us tonight because of retaliation for reporting a violation of the law. If law enforcement cannot enforce the law, who will? Okay, this particular MMC 2406, this is it, 24-0628. This is in relation to the $825,000 settlement to the family of the late Jerry Waller. And let me add some background to this particular discussion. On May 28, 2013, Fort Worth police officers responded to an alarm call. During the investigation of the call, one of the officers encountered Mr. Jerry Waller during the encounter. Mr. Waller was shot and killed. The children of Mr. Waller sued the city and Officer Hopner, alleging that Mr. Waller's constitutional rights were violated. So, again, if you all remember the story, it's been 11 years, and the city is just now settling this case. This should have been settled. This should have been settled. It's watered down to me, if you ask me. But in closing, I would just say this. The $825,000 settlement to the family of the late Jerry Waller, he, like Tatiana Jefferson, was killed by police in his own home, absolutely for nothing. Yet, the city strong-armed his family in a legal battle since 2013. This is another example of the citizens of Fort Worth, or Davids, fighting Goliath, just as the late Thomas Toilet Kasi said in these very chambers.
Our next speaker is Bob Willoughby, followed by Letitia Wilburn.
You know what we're talking about? It's upside down. Turn around, we can see it anyway. But all y'all that vote yes on this tonight, there's 3 districts I'm going after with for sure at election time, because what you're doing is, we can take this back a little history here. Back when Nixon was in office, okay? He left office, Ford became the president, kind of like Maddie and Betsy. Maddie became up and Betsy left, okay? Nixon did wrong, Betsy did wrong. That's why Chief Fitzgerald was whistleblowing on. Betsy sold information. And if these people go to court to testify on this, it'll come out in open. If we pay them off, it goes away. Betsy Price gets away, okay? Ford got voted out of office not for Carter coming in. They voted him out for pardon Nixon. You're pardoning Betsy Price when you vote yes. She did something crooked. She should pay for it. but you're going to use our money to cover it up and not let it come to court. And you know it. So, okay, that's crooked. And Macy and Jeanette, and especially, Charles is not here. He's going to be the easiest to take out. My money in May, if anybody runs against you, we're going to hit doors with leaflets and we're going to mail out. And I got a little bit of a budget. I wish I could do all you. Like if I had Trump's money, you'd be gone. But I don't have it. And sometimes I think I got more money than I think I have. But no, I've got enough money. We're going to give you a hell of a time to stay in if you vote yes on this, because what you're doing here is just, when we put this with everything you've done, you vote away free speech, and now you're going to vote the tax money's payer to cover up Betsy Price's wrongdoing. She did the crime, and you're going to pay for it, okay? You didn't do it. She did. But the people tell y'all how to vote. You're like puppets. You're not much different than Kamala Harris, you know? You're about the same. Or Biden. You can't answer questions, and you run for microphones. So this is crooked. And I want more people to talk about why you should not pass this. I don't care if it's $20 million to Chief Fitzgerald. This should go to court, and what's done in the shadows should come out in the light so everybody can see. But the crooks are going to get away. Fitzgerald and these people are going to get millions of dollars. Everybody's going to be happy. The taxpayer's going to pay for it. But I'll tell you what, Mayor Matty Parker, when you die, you take all your money to heaven, so much you take in with you. Okay? Because materials and money means more to you than anything. Thank you. Point, I ordered my butt.
Great to see you, Bob. Good evening. Our next speaker is Letitia Wilburn. Is Miss Wilburn here? Miss Wilburn, come on down. And Letitia will be followed by Tina James.
Okay, thank you. And first, I want to give my condolences for the fallen officer. Being a retired peace officer myself, you all have my sincere condolences. I was very saddened to see and hear that on the news. And my son's father is a retired police officer, and he was a friend of the fallen officer as well. So y'all have my complete condolences. But I want to speak on the issue of your environmental compliance thing that you have, amending Chapter 2. I'm kind of up in the winds because it's kind of vague. And I know you all talk, it's a good thing that you talk about monitoring and investigation, inspection and auditing, but what will that look like? I know in Echo Heights, whenever we've had investigators come out, they'll come out and say, oh, we smell something, but it depends on how the wind blows. We can barely smell it. Oh, there's no trucks idling. So what will the investigation look like? That's what I'm concerned about. So I would like to have more follow-up with the city as far as Echo Heights Stop 6 Environmental Coalition and Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities go. Also, a big concern to me is that this is the 12th largest city in the United States, but nowhere does this mention anything about environmental justice. It appears that this great big city is totally afraid or just won't even attempt to touch environmental justice. You have all of these Black and brown communities within the 12th largest city in America that have been extremely affected. So I would ask that you all include environmental justice in with your environmental. If you're going to do something environmental, you need to include that. Otherwise, this is just not going to be a fit. And thank you.
Our next speaker is Tina James, followed by Martacia James. Mrs. James here? No? Okay, thank you. Let's make sure Mrs. James is not here, if y'all don't mind. Or Martacia, her daughter.
Martacia is on.
Okay, great.
phone.
Let's go ahead and take Martacia by phone. If Tina's here, we'll pull her up next.
Ms. James? Ms. James, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Are we speaking about the 23-165?
Ms. James?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please. You have 3 minutes.
Are we speaking on the 23-165?
You're
No,
speaking.
it's actually MNC 24-0664 pertaining to the establishment of the Environmental Services Department on the consent agenda.
Oh, I didn't register for this one. We kept getting our wires crossed today.
No worries. We'll call
with
you at the next
secretary.
item then.
All righty,
That's
thank you.
fine. Thanks, Ms. James. Is that the conclusion of our speakers, Jeanette? Thank you. I
Yes,
don't see
ma'am.
Tina here. Okay. Council, if that's a conclusion of our speakers on the consent agenda, I can entertain a motion. Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion, council? Yes, Councilmember Nettles?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to take an opportunity to thank our city attorneys for working through the process on this settlement. As you all know, that each time we had to spend dollars to go towards consultants, or really say to outside attorneys to battle this case. I'm grateful that we was able to get to a settlement as we can move forward with the city of Fort Worth and make sure that we support all our employees. And so I just want to thank the city council for moving in this direction, and glad that we are able to get this settlement on tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember Nettles. Any other discussion from council? If not, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item will be announcements by the city council members, including approval of ceremonial travel if needed.
Councilmember Beck, I'll call on you first for ceremonial travel, and then we'll proceed with announcements.
I'm requesting ceremonial travel to attend a Hunt Institute seminar on municipalities in early childhood education from September 3rd through the 6th.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and we really appreciate you attending that on behalf of the city of Fort Worth. Yeah, I think that's a motion. I'll second. Yeah, that's fine. Any other discussion, council? Elizabeth? And I was the second. And we can vote. Motion carries. Okay, now we're going to Councilmember Flores. Floor is yours, Carlos.
Thank you, Mayor Parker. Okay, looks like the slideshow's up. All right, Countdown Coliseum was nominated and honored with the Texas Historic Civil Engineering Landmark. That plaque was put on the side of the Historic Coliseum, and appreciate the ASCE for doing that. Next slide, please. On June 30th, we experienced a spectacular fireworks show and fun at the 6th Annual Light Up the Lake event hosted by Marine Creek HOA. It's been a little while since we met and had an opportunity to give these slideshows, so that's why I'm digging back into the past. So appreciation to Marine Creek Ranch and the Northwest Alliance. Next slide, please. Northside Neighborhood Association held their Independence Day Parade. I'm really grateful that they all pulled together and to get this going every year. And it fit in very nicely because then we went into the Marine Park area to get started with Sonidos del Summer at Marine Park. That's an event that's helped out and sponsored by the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Next slide, please. All right, happy 25th birthday, Fort Worth Aviation Museum. This is the dedicated aviation museum here in District 2 for the city of Fort Worth. So I present a certificate of recognition to them to mark the occasion. So got a lot of folks that visited the museum that day and enjoyed it and got to discover what the beauty and enrichment of aviation history is about. Next slide. The unveiling of the new MLB mural in D2 by Juan Velasquez. And we had several series of MLB-related events that came in there. This is one that started out. So this is on the side. You can find it, 1400 block of North Main, right on the side of the historic Rose Marine Theater. So Juan has always did a very beautiful job, and you appreciate the MLB team and their corporate sponsorship of that. Then also, MLB helped out our Boys and Girls Club by donating resources to spruce up their gym area, put in a music studio as well, and even donated a brand new Chevy Suburban for their use. So appreciate MLB and all the sponsors that went to help our Boys and Girls Club. Next slide, please. All right, I visited with some creative kids over at the at the Northwest Branch Library where they were doing brick builder activities. So they showed me some creative ideas, and let me tell you, if I had my chance at using Legos right now, they would outclass me. All right, then at Diamond Hill, at their library, read to the kids, both in English and in Spanish, and you know, they're really into, you know, the story, and they had a lot of questions about it, which really impressed me, you know, very inquisitive young minds. And then we treated them Chick-fil-A thereafter. Next slide, please. All right, Red Dress Initiative, and that was held over at the Northside Community Center. So I want to thank Mercedes Cruz Reese for their sponsorship and getting those resources together. Again, for women, they had health screenings there. They even had an eye clinic as well. A lot of fun, a lot of dancing. All right, next slide. Gicky's Club celebrated Christmas in July. So it was a glow-in-the-dark theme. And, you know, these kids, you know, are given a really great place so they can thrive. And they don't have very many resources of this kind around the city. So it's really helpful that we have a place for them, and my deep appreciation for the North Tri staff for providing them with that. Next slide, please. Again, back to the MLB draft. Mayor Parker got to present a certificate there to the commissioner of the MLB, and she got out on stage, and I tagged along to really celebrate a first-time and historic event in Fort Worth history. It was very well attended, a big success, you know, in everyone's opinion. All right, then July 28th, we celebrate National Day of the Cowboy in the Stockyards. And so my office recognized a young man by the name of William Hicks for his Lego recreation of the historic stockyards. He actually built this out, took a lot of hours to do it, showcases his craftsmanship and imagination. Over 60,000 pieces, I'm told. All right. Back to school resource fair at the Diamond Hill Community Center. Lots of sponsorship there. You know, it's really, you know, impressive to me to see a lot of people that, you know, come out and are in need. And keep in mind, we're also helping out parents, not just kids, you know, when we do these back to school events. And again, a back to school bash at the Boys and Girls Club at the North Fort Worth branch. Big turnout there. I think there were over 500 people that came. So again, very well attended event. Thanks to all involved. Now I have one announcement. September's rolling around, and Fiestas Patrias Parade, or the 16 de September, is coming up, and this is all in celebration for the Hispanic Heritage kickoff celebration. So save the date, Sunday, September 15th at 11 a.m. in the Fort Worth Stockyards. That's when we have our parade, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Carlos. Councilmember Williams.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just have a few announcements similar to Councilmember Flores. Since we were on recess in July, I wanted to be able to highlight a couple things from July that were really exciting in District 6. The first one, I just want to shout out our legacy in Como. The Men of Legacy did a fantastic job in partnership with you know, the city, Fort Worth PD, our Transportation Public Works, and code compliance with ensuring that this was an amazing event. They also, for the first time, also hosted the Lake Como Homecoming event, which followed the Como Fest, which was very successful and took a lot of courage and a lot of innovation from the Men of Legacy, and also in partnership with so many city departments and community organizations and leaders to make that happen. And also just shout out to my colleague, Councilmember Crane. He and I were on calls, you know, thinking about barricades and porta potties and all kinds of things, and he pitched in as well. And so thank you, brother, for your support on that. Also, next slide, please. I wanted to shout out the 74th Annual Lake Como Day Parade. It was such a wonderful event, and I had the chance to spend some time in Como with my family, and Janelle even went to the podium with me. I guess you got to start them early, right? And it was just such an amazing event. Special shout out to the Lake Como Planning Committee for organizing such an amazing celebration. And it's the celebration and the participation on that day was just indicative of all the hard work that the committee and the Lake Como community put into making this day truly special. So big shout out to Como for the amazing 4th of July festivities. Next slide. Also, want to just shout out, you know, our Fort Worth PD for the grand opening of South Division. I know this has not been an easy journey to get to this point, and just really commend Fort PD, city management team, this council for all of the support to get us there, and then also my predecessor, Councilmember Junga Shorten. I know this was something he really wanted to see come to fruition. So a lot of great work went into this, and it was certainly a day that we all should be proud of. Next slide. And then lastly, just want to shout out the amazing back to school events that we had this past weekend. We were proud to sponsor the back to school bash at the Lake Como Community Center and also at the Chisholm Trail Community Center. It was just so incredible to see so many great community organizations pouring into our kiddos and our families, and also see such great participation from our neighbors for both of these back to school bashes. And so thank you all who played an important part in that, including our community centers. It was certainly an amazing event. And certainly join me in praying and also wishing our kiddos an amazing first week back to school. That concludes my announcements.
Councilmember Hill. I just have two announcements. The mega adoption event is this weekend, August 17th and 18th at the Amon G. Carter Exhibits Hall on Lancaster. We have the Humane Society of North Texas and over 20 other North Texas animal shelters, including our Fort Worth Animal Care and Control. There'll be over 1,000 pets. Adoption fees are going to be $25 or less, and this includes spay, neutering, microchip, and vaccinations. Event admission is free, and parking is $12. Next slide. District 7 is excited to announce that we are getting a new library, the Clifford Crossing Library. Our grand opening is going to be on Saturday, August the 31st at 10 o'clock a.m. Come see our new library, get a library card, or update your old one. I had to renew mine. Check out a bunch of books and join us for all the fun planned for the opening. And the address is 9336 Clifford Street, Suite 120, and I look forward to seeing you on the August 31st. Thank you, and Councilmember Beck. Oh, sorry, I was out of order. Councilman Nettles.
No, that's okay. Thank you. All right, I have these slides. They're not in order. Again, I did them. So the back to school bash that's just happened this past weekend with the William McDonald partnership with Cliff Sparks. I think we serviced over 1,000 families, if I'm not mistaken. Also, along with that, we was able to do the warrant forgiveness, and I think I had the numbers. It was around 70 people we was able to service, as well as over 150 warrants that were forgiven. So really grateful for the City of Fort Worth's partnership with that. The next slide is more back to school events. I visit the Fresh Oil Church as well. They had a back to school event at the same time. The next slide is going to articulate a very special person to District 8 in the City of Fort Worth, Jeanette Goodall. She supplied most of all our school supplies. She brought a U-Haul van. Her and her sister drove it up there. And so, yeah, I think we owe her applause. So thank you. She's sitting right there, Jeanette. And so we really appreciate, we was able to serve so many kids. And so she takes over every year. So thank you, Jeanette. Next slide, please. Happy birthday to Judge Clifford Davis. Went to the museum in District 8, had an opportunity to congratulate him and present him a proclamation. I believe his birthday is either in September or October, but he's been having celebrations. 100 years, God, please help us all to get there. So we're grateful for his work, and we stand on his shoulders. Some people may not want to live that long, but we stand on his shoulders for all the work he has done in Tarrant County and in Fort Worth. He really have paved the way, and so we're grateful for his services. Next slide, please. Shark Tank happened at TCU, had an opportunity to visit with some summer campers, and they presented to us ideas or businesses, pitch and entrepreneurship, and sat there with two young ladies and gave them a Shark Tank. Also told them some civic engagement of what we're doing here at the City of Fort Worth. Next slide. Tarrant County Back to School Roundup. I did add the time, 7 a.m. I was there on time with Commissioner Brooks, and those gave out so many school supplies with cell phone. I'm sorry. What did Rachel say? Rachel did give me a wake-up call, so thank you, Rachel. The district director for Jeanette called and woke me up. Thank you. Next slide, please. It's teamwork. District 8 received $800,000 in congressional grant for a Happy Park right there in the Renaissance Heights development. And so we'll redevelop that park. We will also manage it, and we're grateful for the investment that is happening. We're getting ready to put affordable housing over there along with another complex to support that neighborhood. We really believe in housing in this district. Next slide. This is the full picture of the picture that Jerry showed. He blew up the other picture so we can see his beautiful face. But this is the full
slides.
this is the full picture. We all share this, the South Division, myself and Elizabeth and Jared, and so we're really excited about being visible in the southern part of Fort Worth. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Blaylock. Oh, no, Beck, I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I'll
It's
let you go.
okay. We're going to get it right tonight, I
My
promise.
apologies.
All right, next slide. All right, so first up, 4th of July, and it's always great to be out in the neighborhoods and participate in giving kids that aren't mine candy to enjoy at home. Next slide. All right, so South Hills Neighborhood Association Annual Ice Cream Social. It's always a great event. Next slide. All right, so we opened the first new residential tower in downtown in several decades. Thank you to the mayor for joining us for that grand opening. Big things are happening downtown. I was excited to be a part of it. Next slide. Had the opportunity to attend the Texas Association of Affordable Housing Professionals Conference down in Austin to learn a little bit more about the affordable housing landscape and hopefully bring some of that back to Fort Worth. Next slide. All right, you've seen it once, you've seen it twice, third time's a charm. The South Division grand opening. It was a really great day to be out there, and I'm excited that they've got some new digs and some new space to do their work. Next slide. All right, more building going on downtown. Thanks to everyone that came out to the Fort Worth Convention Center topping out ceremony this past week. It was really great, and I look forward to seeing all of that construction done, Commerce Street straightened, and our convention center booming. Next slide. All right, this is a fun one. We have a new baby at the Fort Worth Zoo. Delilah was born on July 2nd, and she stands about as tall as Alan does right now. So hopefully not too much longer, you'll be able to, she'll outpace you. But if you haven't been out to the zoo to check out the amazing things that they've got going on out there, not only do we have a lot of new babies, but several new exhibits have opened up. The Predators and then the Texas Wild has redone one of their buildings as well. So please get out there and visit what is a really amazing treasure for our city. All right, next slide. All right, so we have some future events. First up, we have the third Thursday Art Walk in the near South Side on South Main. It's always a lot of fun, lots of food, lots of art, and lots of music. Next slide. August 17th, please join Commissioner Roy Brooks for his 9th annual Alzheimer's Education Seminar that will be held at the TCC Trinity River campus. Next slide. All right, 817 Day is coming up just around the corner, so that means that it's our Amplify 817 showcase. This year it will be at 6 p.m. on 8/17 at Fort Brewery. I hope you will join us all out there to see some of our library's Amplify 817 artists. Next slide. All right, this is a big one that we've been working on. So September is Addiction and Recovery Month. And in honor of that, we are hosting an overdose and addiction resource fair. I hope you'll come out and join us to learn more about how you can help members of your community that might be struggling, particularly if you're interested in learning more about how to administer Narcan. All right, next slide. This is probably my favorite. So one of the things that I have the honor of doing as your council person in District 9 is serving on the Visit Fort Worth board. And while I was on a personal vacation out in far west Texas for a music festival, I had the opportunity to see not one, but 3 different Fort Worth acts that are part of the Here Fort Worth community that's put together by Visit Fort Worth. And so if you have not had the opportunity to go out and see one of our local artists, you don't have to travel all the way out to Big Bend to see them. They play here locally as well. I'd highly recommend you go to the Amplify 817 website and the Here Fort Worth website and learn more about our music scene. And that's all I got.
Councilmember Blaylock.
I just have one slide today. We're announcing our town hall this September 12th. at the Speedway Club at Texas Motor Speedway. We'll be talking about all things Fort Worth with a special emphasis on public safety development occurring in the north and the current transportation infrastructure needs. Hope to see everybody there. We had 200 people last year roughly, so I hope we have more this time.
Councilmember Martinez.
Just some more pictures from our celebration with the Oakhurst Neighborhood Association. These were taken on June 15th at the event, and so it was just a really great time for everybody that was there. Next slide. And so I had the incredible privilege and honor to lead this year's delegation to Budapest, the Fort Worth Sister Cities delegation, and so it was just a beautiful country full of history and culture, and I just want to say thank you to Michael for joining us on that trip, and he definitely gave me some pointers along the way. And so you'll see there that we presented the Deputy Mayor Bose with a gift from the city of Fort Worth. And they also, interestingly enough, not in Budapest, we visited a neighboring town. Do you remember the town's name where we saw the Longhorns? They have a Longhorn there as well. Eger, I think is how you pronounce it. So you pronounce it Budapest. So anyways, so I had a wonderful time, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity. Next slide. Just a reminder, this Saturday will be the citywide job fair at Texas Wesleyan University. District 11 is partnered with Goodwill and other partners. You can see there, of course, City of Fort Worth, Texas Wesleyan, First Stop Reentry, Workforce Solutions, and Goodwill. And so if you know anybody that's looking for a job or you need a career change, please join us this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Texas Wesleyan. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. I think that's the conclusion of our announcements.
Our next item will be 24-4448, board appointments from the mayor's office.
I'm sure I do. Just a second. There they are, right there. Apologies.
Mayor?
Yes.
Sorry. Even though I highlighted it, we have speakers on the non-consent first.
Okay, let's do that. But before we do, we have a special guest. I just wanted to call it and embarrass him just a little bit. Andrew Greenstein is here on the front row. Andrew has been a part of the KRLD family since 2015, which is hard to believe. He's been honestly one of my favorite journalists to work with, always so thoughtful, and he's got a big promotion. He's heading to the big state of Louisiana. So this is his last council meeting here in the city of Fort Worth to cover. So I just wanted to say thank you, Andrew, and you've always been a pleasure to work with, and round of applause and good luck in your next endeavor. Okay, Jeanette, we got non-consent agenda item speakers. Our first up is Bob Willoughby, followed by Adrian Smith. Yes, Bob Willoughby, followed by Adrian Smith.
Well, let's see if we can get this one up there, okay? CCP phone fence. Do me a favor, Maddie, I would appreciate it very much. You see what's seen in here on the screen? What's not on the city website a lot of times. Maddie, you edit my videos and you don't show the same thing. That's good. You don't show the same thing what people see on the internet or on the city website. And they should see the same thing right here. Should be on your website, but it's not. So anytime you're watching my video and you see me, they took something off like they did last time. Go look at the last council meeting and watch. What was on there was taken down. Maddie, I appreciate you wouldn't do that, okay? Thank you very much. These CCD funds, Carlos, I'm gonna chase you again tonight. I'm gonna stay with you till you answer questions about this, because that looks awful guilty. I have sent in a request to the Inspector General because the DA won't answer. He said he won't return any calls. He's not going to answer about this. It says clearly, here's the rules. 300,000 is the most you get. And if you look on here, coming up, you see 1,691,000. That's a little bit more than $300,000, I think. And you know what? We can't do an audit. We don't know how this money is being used or spent. No one will answer questions. The Texas Rangers said they will investigate if we get our crooked DA to tell them to. And that's what I'm working on. Phil Soares right now. I sent to the general, to tell Soares is not answering, he's not responding. Carlos is the board. The mayor of the city sits on this board. She won't answer either. I mean, we're in a cesspool of corruption, if you ask me. This is terrible. I mean, it is just unreal. But anyway, Carlos, the questions you answered were lies last time. You ran off, got to a door, and you turned around, you answered 2 questions that were lies, okay? Can you be a man and come down here at the end of this night and let these, do the interview, let these people know why all this money is given out to these people? Why would they give more? You know, one of them had a bogus website with 555555 for the contact number, and you gave him $800,000? God. You know, you're as bad as Kamala Harris. You can't run anything. I tell you, all she does is cackle, and you might as well cackle too all day because you can't do anything. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting off. Point of order. Where did Jarrett go? Point of order. Okay. We want some answers. I've been at this for months, and no one will answer. It's your money. It's not mine. It's everybody's money. And if you don't care, that's why they're getting away with it. It's not all mine. I hate seeing them take my money and waste it like this. This is going to criminals, crooks, and it's buying off people is what it's doing. And it's just as crooked as the last thing they just passed when they protected Bessie Price from her dirty deals, okay? But this one here, I've got documents here, and I'm going to stay with it so somebody answers or they put me in the ground or my breathing periods expire. This crookedness ain't going to happen, okay? Thank you. I got 8 seconds. I hope you come down here and answer, not run away like a little girl. Thank you, Carlos.
Our next speaker is Adrian Smith, followed by John McFarland.
So I'm speaking to MMC 24-0686, and it's a development project located at 5401 East Berry Street, and between 54, it's a big property, so put it like that. 5401 East Berry Street and 5425 East Berry Street. It is a proposal for 34 townhomes and at least 7 living work units, 12 affordable units, as according to the HUD standards, but they're currently projected below $300,000. But let's just say $300,000 because we know what the developers are going to eventually end up with. 22 market rate townhomes are projected at $350,000. So first, I would just like to, and just give me my response when I'm done speaking, if you can, to the representative of this district. Did the community get due diligence to know what's being considered and what's being proposed for this particular site? And if not, why not? Because I think the community as a whole should know what's coming, what's being proposed in their given community. Now, I asked the question, are we doing what's best for the community or are we doing what's best for business? To the business developers, those who are considering, or well, not considering because you already purchased this particular property, have you done your due diligence as it relates to that area? Now, this is no knock on the people of the area because the people of the area are great people, but their lives and their livelihoods haven't been invested in for years, upon years, upon years, upon years. So to the developers, I will encourage you, before you break ground, before you start moving dirt or, you know, hanging out in the area, get to know the community because the community is going to more or less determine how long that particular project lasts. Now, right directly across from that community, it's considered a hotbed. It's considered a bad spot. You know, drugs, crime, problem, people hanging out, this, that, or the other. But again, it's not the people. The people of this community, again, do not have the necessary considerations given to them so they can become, you know, what certain areas of Fort Worth look like, you know, up. So to the developers, please, you have 1 year beginning now to get to know that community because it's going to be the community who's going to overall ensure that that property is successful. And as far as the businesses that you all are going to lease to, those spaces, please, 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 don't lease to any, if you're tired of me, remove yourself from the seat.
Adrian, lucky you tonight. The developer who is from Stop 6, who graduated from Dunbar High School, who lives in Stop 6, is here tonight. Congratulations, Mr. Smith. for coming home to put this development together. We could not be more proud. Adrian, you're real off base on this one, I'm afraid to tell you. So, yeah. So our next speaker is John McFarland, followed by Rachel Slaughter.
Am I speaking to the landfill?
Yes, sir. That's what I have listed. Yes,
All
sir.
right, I wasn't sure. Thought that was be pulled up on the agenda. But anyway, John McFarlane, City of Fort Worth. I represent, I'm the conservation chair of the Greater Fort Worth Sierra Club. We represent over 2,000 environmental folks around the region, with about 800 to 1,000 in Fort Worth itself. And I know this is a slam dunk. I think every council member is going to be voting for this. We are, obviously the Sierra Club is pro-environment, pro-sustainability, and we fully support capturing methane gas from the landfill and converting it to usable natural gas, which will benefit the users and the city, I believe, up to $5 million a year, I think I read. But so that's a great deal. I don't have much else to say except that I would hope that the city continues on the sustainability push with electric vehicles and solar and wind, and we just continue on this path. And I know Councilmember Williams is on board with that. So thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John. And I think it's important to note that Dr. Wittenberg and his staff deserve a lot of credit for bringing this forward, and we look forward to seeing what next measures they'll bring forward as the Environmental Services Department. Our next speaker is Rachel Slaughter. Is Ms. Slaughter here?
We have her on the phone.
Thank you.
Ms. Slaughter?
Ma'am.
Go ahead, please.
I'm speaking in reference. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm speaking in reference to item M&C 24-0690, and that is in District 9 for the transformation of 512 West 4th Street to become the next downtown library. I am all for that idea, and I'm just calling in hopes that you would consider naming the new library after Ms. Judy Affleck Bishop. Ms. Bishop was the executive director of the YWCA for 25 plus years when that address was at its peak. She was responsible for many initiatives and partnerships at 512 West 4th Street, and she partnered with many initiatives and leaders within the Fort Worth community. As a matter of fact, she was responsible for the original Capitol campaign that took place in the 90s in early 2000s for the restoration and renovation. On top of that, she was able to bring into that facility many programs that serve not just the downtown area, but all of Fort Worth, and then also that extended beyond different states. For example, the agency provided programs that help homeless children that brought in so they could have a start into their education and not be left behind due to their financial circumstances, their parents' financial circumstances. She was also responsible for bringing in young women to have residency at that address who had aged out of the foster care system, among many other things. Also, that building under her leadership was a pillar for where many of the fundraising events for Fort Worth development took place, including the infancy of the idea of Bass Performance Hall and also other fundraising events for community service, like American Heart Association, different walks, and any other items or things that needed to be done to serve the community. So I'm not sure, I know today was just a vote to purchase the building, but I don't know if there's another route that needs to be taken to have her name considered for the naming of the building.
Thank you, Ms. Slaughter. That's the last of our non-consent agenda speakers. Jeanette, we can keep moving.
Yes. Next will be 24-4448, appointments from the mayor.
Yes, council, I'd like to request your consideration to appoint the following individual to the board below with a partial term effective August 13th, 2024 and ending October 1st, 2025. Mr. Ricky Cotto is a partial term to the Community Development Council. His respective application and resume are attached, and the original copies will be maintained by the city secretary's office. Motion and a second, council. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next will be 24-4460, board appointments from District 11.
Councilor Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm really excited about this appointment. Not only is Abby an avid cyclist, she's also an active community volunteer who champions various organizations throughout Fort Worth. Abby's actually here. Will you raise your, yeah, there she is. And with that, Mayor and Council, I'd like to request your consideration to appoint the following individual to the board below with a partial term effective August 13th, 2024, and ending October 1st, 2025. Abby Dudek, partial term, Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Commission. The respective application and resume are attached. The original copies will be maintained in the city secretary's office.
Got a motion and a second, council. Please vote. Motion carries. And Abby, thank you for attending tonight, and thank you for your service. We really do appreciate it.
Next will be 24-4488.
Got a motion and a second, council. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next is 24-4453.
Got a motion and a second, and just want to give a special thanks to Roger Venables and the Aviation Department for this item. Please vote.
Motion carried. Next item will be 24-4454.
Motion and a second, council, and thank you to Christiane Simmons and Brady Kirk, who I didn't know your first name was Stephen Brady, so now I'm going to remember that one. Thank you for your service in the 4th Lab Office. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next will be 24-4489.
Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next is 24-4490.
We have no speak. Go ahead. Thank you. Go ahead, please. Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next will be the public hearing, 24-4457, with report by Derek Hull.
Hi, Derek. How are you? Where are you? Nope. Derek Hull. Bueller? No. Who's playing pinch hitter here? Anybody? Oh, Dana's up. Okay. Hi, Dana.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Dana Bergdorf, Assistant City Manager working with the Development Services Department. Tonight we have a public hearing on a proposed city-initiated annexation of a few acres of right-of-way. This is the Dale Earnhardt right-of-way where we actually just had basically a GIS mapping error or survey error when we annexed it initially. This is up near Texas Motor Speedway. So this is really a boundary cleanup for us to make that really a straight line along that right-of-way there. So we've posted information about the public hearing on our website and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dana. Councilmember Blaylock, I'll turn to you for any questions or to close the public hearing.
No questions. I'll simply move to close the public hearing. Thank you, Dana.
Got a motion and a second. Council, please vote. Motion carries. And Dana, lucky you, we have another public hearing. This one's on 244458 in Council District 8.
All right, great, thank you. So again, Dana Bergdorf, Assistant City Manager. This is also a city-initiated annexation of right-of-way of Risinger Road. Again, this was the subject of a recent public improvement project through Transportation and Public Works, and we noticed that there was a portion of it that needed to be in our city limits so that it was another right-of-way cleanup that we took care of. So appreciate your support on this one as well.
Thank you. Any questions, council?
No, move to close the public hearing and approve.
A second, please vote. Motion carries.
And the next is 24-0616.
All right, very good. This is an owner-initiated annexation. This is an extension of the Ventana subdivision in far southwest Fort Worth. This will enable them to create a more cohesive subdivision design. So it adds some utility right-of-way and about 3 lots for a residential subdivision. So there's very minimal impact to city operations, and so we support the annexation.
Councilmember Crane.
Yeah, move to close the public hearing and act on the M&C.
Motion and a second, council. Please vote. Motion passes.
The next will be MNC 24-06.
That deserves a round of applause, Dana. That was well played. Way to go. She'll be here all night, folks.
Next will be MNC 24-0687 with report by Sherry Gordon.
Hi, Sherry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Cherie Gordon, Business Development Coordinator, Economic Development. The purpose of the hearing is to receive public comment regarding the designation of tax abatement reinvestment zone number 110. The legal description of the site is attached to MNC 24-0687, and a map of the zone is displayed on the monitors. The proposed tax abatement reinvestment zone 110 is located on approximately 18.9 acres of property located at 15225 and 15101 FAA Boulevard in Fort Worth, Texas. The City of Fort Worth wishes to support new investment and business activity, in particular to support the expansion of GE On-Wing Support, Inc. at the site in Fort Worth. To facilitate the project, the City of Fort Worth wishes to enter into a tax abatement agreement with the company based on a portion of incremental value of real and business personal property at the project site. Today's City Council agenda also includes the companion tax abatement agreement, which will be considered as a separate action under MNC 24-0688 subsequent to the public hearing. In accordance with state law, notice of this hearing has been published in the Star-Telegram, a newspaper of general circulation within the City of Fort Worth, and notice has been given to each of the taxing entities that levy taxes on this property. Following public comments, staff recommends closing the public hearing and approving MNC 24-0687, which includes the following: finding that the improvements are feasible and practical and would be a benefit to the land to be included in tax abatement reinvestment zone number 110 and to the city after expiration of any tax abatement agreements, and adoption of an ordinance designating tax abatement reinvestment zone number 110. Adoption of the attached ordinance does not obligate the City Council to approve the tax abatement agreement.
Thank you, Sherry. Questions from Councilmember Bivens or anyone else? Councilmember Bivens.
With that, I enthusiastically move we close the public hearing, and I move for approval. Thank you, Cherie.
Motion and a second, council. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you.
Next will be ZC-24-045.
Councilmember Crane, we do not have any speakers on this item. Motion and a second, council. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next is ZC-24-052.
Councilmember Nettles, we have 2 speakers on this item. The first is Tyler Wallach, followed by Adrian Smith. Tyler, welcome.
Yes, how's everybody doing tonight?
We're great. We thought about ways to heckle you, but we were going to be nice. We were going to fake an executive session to make sure, we were going to do the whole thing.
Yeah, everybody get up and leave.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Speak for yourself, Mayor. I'm
Just
still
kidding, the floor is
heckling.
yours, thank you.
No, thank you very much. It may take me a minute to work this technology here, so if y'all can bear with me while I do this. But it's nice to see y'all again. I know it's been a while, been a few months. Appreciate y'all hearing this case. So, good evening, Mayor Parker, members of City Council. I'm here on behalf of my client, Green Green, who's seeking approval of a conditional use permit for a automated car wash. Let me see, there we go. Yep, I can do this. All right. I'd like to introduce you to our team real quick. We got Gopal Ray right there. He's a small business owner and the owner of Green Green Inc. and the applicant for this CUP. And then Mike Booth, who is a representative from Protect Services. So Protect Services has over 40 years of experience in the car wash industry. They build and maintain car washes throughout the state of Texas and have done so for more than 400. They worked with many municipalities in the state of in this state. We also have Andrew Yo, who's an engineer who prepared the site plan. So locations. The location of this is it's on a major. I mean, I think you could say it's on a U.S. Highway 287, Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard or Martin Luther King Jr. Freeway. And it is a vacant piece of land. To the north is Berry Street. To the west is Renaissance Square, so major commercial center. And I think that's it. So next this is the zoning map. And so this is on here because I wanted to show that everything around it is zoned E neighborhood commercial. And I think this is important because, again, as I said before, when you look at it, you have a major freeway that kind of cuts just to the north. You got Regional Commercial Center has a Walmart. You have a Marshalls. You have fast food that lines the north where it says Renaissance on Renaissance Boulevard over there. Gas station to the north. Major arterials with Berry Street. And so this is an area I think that is ripe for a car wash. It's an area that there's neighborhood that is close by. As you can see, the A5 and the A75. You mix that with all the commercial corridor. And I think you have a place that a lot of people in the community can go to wash their car, and there's a need for it as well. There's not very many car washes, if any, in this neighborhood. So here's the site plan. As you can see, this was specifically designed to reduce traffic impact, so the traffic will come in off of Vaughn Boulevard. And to the west right now, there's vacant land, so there's nothing there, so it'll be a lot less traffic. There's noise mitigation as well, so the dryers that come out, they blow out to the north towards Lois Street and towards Berry Street, so that reduces the sound that the neighborhoods will hear to the south. And there's also the water recycling, that goes up to 85%. We have an enormous amount of community support, more than 100 people signed
Thank you,
petition.
Tyler.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate your time. It's expired. Our
Thank
next
you.
speaker is Adrian Smith.
Yeah, he doesn't have to use his 3 minutes. The developers get what they want, so, they just get a spiel, they get what they want. But anyway, so we back to this particular MNC. I try not to be nonsensical, Mayor. You remember I was nonsensical last time talking about this same issue. So, and please answer after I get through speaking. I don't like to be interrupted. Did you do your due diligence, sir? For my last meeting, did you do your due diligence to reach out to the community to let them know what's being proposed? I also would like to know how many job creations this particular car wash will create, because I'm sure we could have proposed something else for that particular space that would have brought about greater. Just a greater upbringing of the community, as far as employment creation. But to the developer, what are you going to put in place to ensure this car wash doesn't become a nuisance? And what I mean by nuisance is because a hangout spot, a spot where people cannot. If you got something to say it by all means. You got anything you would like to say about it? Have some of my time.
You've got your time at 1:35, Adrian.
No one doesn't have to speak under their breath. If you have something you want to say it. But again, to the developer, what are you going to do to ensure this car wash doesn't become a nuisance? Again, this area and the people of this area need far greater investment in them than what this city consistently gives them. So to the developer, kudos. You get what you want. And as I take my seat, I just want to say thank you to future District 5 Council Representative Tina James for those words. Thank you.
Councilwoman Nettles, that's the last of our speakers.
Thank you. I want to answer your question, Adrian, about the reaching out to the community. And I want to say we did do that. And I want to ask you one question. Did you receive the notification of us reaching out to the community? Let me tell you why you didn't receive the notification, because you don't live in District 8. So have a seat. So we did reach out to the neighborhood. We also reached out to all those who are directly affected by it. So Tyler, I really appreciate your effort. Can you come back up to the podium? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Tyler, so I spoke with Southeast Stacy Marshall today, and I do apologize I didn't get a chance to meet with you today, but David had us stuck in budget meeting all morning. I get the letters from Stacy that said you had spoke with the residents. Can you just speak to that point so we make sure that's clear?
Yeah, so actually, Gopal Ray actually made a heroic effort and went and got more than 100 signatures from a lot of folks in the neighborhood, a lot of folks that are kind of outside of that initial neighborhood, folks that would still use the car wash. As you can see here, I mean, this is all, I think I counted 110 to 115 signatures. But we also reached out to Southeast Fort Worth because we know that, they do represent the community. So we wanted to make sure that Stacy was on board, that because they, their support matters, mattered to us. And to address the employment issue as well. So there'll be three full-time employees on site. There'll be 5 parking spaces for, just in case there's 2 additional need to come on. But they have committed to employ individuals from the neighborhood as well. So we figured that would help.
Thank you. And thank you for doing the extra work that we did actually do. And so I am going to move to approve this.
Thank you.
Motion and a second with enthusiasm. Council, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is SP-24-007.
Sorry, I lost my place. Councilmember Larsdorf, and I think Councilmember Blaylock has got this one covered.
Yes, Councilman Lauersdorf asked me to make a motion to approve this case.
Motion and a second, council, please vote. And motion carries.
Next item is ZC-23-165.
Councilmember Martinez, we do not have any, yes, we do have lots of speakers on this item, apologies. Our first speaker is Tina James, followed by Chris Jones. Mrs. James.
Good afternoon. I kind of feel like I'm sitting in the city of Dalton County right now as we deal with certain people on the dais and situations that we're dealing with in the city of Fort Worth. Mostly, of course, a fight for our environmental justice and the safety and support in our community. But and for those who do know, I am a resident of Stop 6, and I own property in Echo Heights. But even with that being said, the property located on the corner of Berry and Stalkup just last week have had police situations. Sorry?
Sustained. Ms. James, keep speaking on this zoning case, please. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry? I didn't hear you.
Just keep speaking on this zoning case. This is EC 23-165.
Oh, point of order. Okay, so when in one community, not speaking of a name, as we're dealing with our communities, write hot checks that bounce throughout the city, and it's public information didn't speak of a community, but we have people that have obtained property throughout the city, even in the
Sustained.
Everett.
Tina, it's really hard to follow. Is there any item on this particular zoning case in Council District 11 you wanted to speak about this evening?
Oh, we're talking about the property on Cary Street,
Yes.
that we're against it?
Yes, that's the item you signed up to speak for.
Yes, yes, ma'am. But she said point of order, so as long as I'm not identifying a person by
No,
name or a property.
I'm in control of points of order. It was sustained. I just need you to keep on topic. You have a minute and 22 left for this item.
Okay. So that part, we do not want any more industrial companies and our different types of properties, that businesses that are coming over causing more problems as it deals with industrial and environmental issues and problems. And although it hasn't been documented where y'all are able to see it, but it is there that certain companies and different types of pollution and chaos from truck drivers and different companies do bring in pollution that does cause health issues and things like that. I remember Gina made the statement before that there wasn't any documents that was proving this, that this has happened before, but it is public information around the city of Texas, as well as other cities, that there are pollution that cause health issues and problems throughout the cities. The only thing about our community is when we go to the hospitals, we don't keep up with it. We just go back home and we don't make documents and keep up with it so that it goes like further on down the line. But I do thank you for your time, and we're completely and utterly against the new business and any business extra over on the Cary Street. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Chris Jones, followed by Letitia Wilburn.
All right. That picture is actually for the next presentation.
Mr. Jones, just a moment. Ms. James, if you could refrain from speaking from the audience, it's quite distracting, and we're trying to leave our time here to Mr. Jones, who has the floor. No, don't whisper. Just leave the floor. If you want to go back in the back, you're welcome to do that. It's just really, it carries much more than you would realize up the dais. Thank you. Mr. Smith, do you want to be removed? Do you want to be quiet? Your choice. Great. Mr. Jones, the floor is yours.
All right, my name is Chris Jones. I am the Vice President of Echo Heights Neighborhood Association, and I live close to this case in question. First off, I'd like to extend our condolences as an association for our fallen officer. ZC 23165 is regarding 4900 Cary Street and the request to bail them out of trouble with the city of Fort Worth. They were notified via case 23657786 that many of the trucks parking on their property were violations and when not the property was zoned for. Instead of resolving the issue or making arrangements, this is a truck leasing company after all. They want the city of Fort Worth to give them an exception to zoning requirements, further allowing them to harm to come to our community and the area. Why make costly arrangements when you can get a conditional use permit and keep doing what you're doing without getting in trouble? A get out of jail free card, if you will. This isn't a monopoly game. The company is affecting people's lives, regardless of how it may harm the company around you. Remember, you don't live here. You don't have to breathe the air for too long. You hop in your car, drive 30 minutes away to clean air, and you don't have to worry about it until the next haul. Echo Heights Neighborhood Association is against issuing the conditional use permit for this case. With a very small residential community of Echo Heights, there are over 700 residents, but there are also over 200 industrial and commercial businesses with literally over 700 trucks, trailers, and commercial vehicles, literally more than humans in the neighborhood. Something doesn't add up. Additionally, we have very disproportionate number of amenities for our residents. One park that is run down and has less playground equipment and things to do than private trailer parks within the neighborhood. One elementary school with no other elementary schools near it, and rumor has it might be on the chopping block. One animal shelter and 2 convenience stores. No large groceries stores, no restaurants, no other services that serve the residents. Only companies that serve the interest of Fort Worth. You can't even get a haircut without going out of the area. How does this make it right for the residents of Echo Heights? City of Fort Worth has talked and talked in meetings and council meetings, but nothing has been committed to paper to hold City of Fort Worth accountable for correcting this problem. These actions, such as denying ZC 23165, is a start. Real change must happen, and it must happen with every one of us. I stand before you tonight representing my family, my friends, my community, our neighborhood, and the Echo Heights Neighborhood Association, stating that we do not agree with issuing the conditional use permit for this company and ask that this motion be denied. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Letitia Wilburn, followed by Patrina Newton.
Hi again. I am in agreement with Chris. Echo Heights Stop 6 Environmental Coalition and Fort Worth Environmental Coalitions of Communities. We are against this conditional use permit. This company made a comment that they made a bad investment. It is not the community's fault that this company made a bad investment. Now I know that there was a guy, he said he was the former mayor of Irving, and he's called me and Tina James and spoke to us, not the coalition, not the neighborhood association. And he was the most dishonest person you could ever speak to. They could not give us a reason why they want to have this conditional use permit issued. Also, there's too many trucks in this community. When a business doesn't fit a certain profile, when they come to our community, they ask for a conditional use permit. And those are handed out like candy in Echo Heights. We can go over stats after stats after stats where people have come in here and asked for conditional use permits and it's been approved. Y'all have to stop at some point. At some point, y'all have to look at the people who live there. We've had to hear the people that bought this company talk about their bad childhood. Well, that has nothing to do with us. Kids in our community have had a bad childhood as well. We prefer that something more positive start coming into this community. Y'all cannot continue to use these areas as dumping grounds. I know y'all keep saying y'all don't have a health study. Those take time, they take money. But there is so many other studies out there that should let y'all know and raise red flags that there is something definitely going on in this community. There's things about pollution, there's things about cancers. Matter of fact, we just buried someone on my street last week that died of cancer. There's things about respiratory issues. There are studies and facts out there to let y'all know something wrong. And to me, I'm not a lawyer, but to me, y'all are negligent when the information is fair and y'all sit up and say, well, y'all don't have a health study. This community is over-industrialized. It should never have happened here. And what's gonna happen, and I'm going to push for this, I'm gonna make sure that the nation see that Fort Worth is on the top of the list with some of the worst environmental commitments in America. Echo Heights is currently proven to be one of the most polluted communities in the United States of America. And that means nothing to y'all because y'all keep adding industrial over there. Even though y'all know, y'all keep turning a blind eye. To me, I'm not a lawyer, but to me, that's negligent because people are dying. People's health are at risk.
Our next speaker is Patrina Newton. Patrina will be followed by John McFarland.
Okay, good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, Patrina Newton. I'm a stakeholder in the Village Creek neighborhood. My family home is there. I'm very familiar with this neighborhood. So this, wanted to show some slides of what is existing, the impact of all the trucks in this neighborhood. So we'll start out with the streets. This is Village Creek Road. These are not potholes. These are just, I call them craters. And this is longstanding. This was my route, my commute route going home. So Village Creek has been this way. The little patch-up work that is done, it just doesn't hold up. Martin Street, where the Animal Control Center is, this is on both the north and south side of Martin Street. I mean, you literally just have to go around these big craters, this cracks in the pavement. So it potentially causes harm to the drivers, the motorists, your vehicle, your tires, your alignment, et cetera, and it's just not safe. And these are recent pictures, by the way. These pictures on Carey Street were just taken Sunday. So this is what you see on Carey Street. Regarding all the trucks, as folks have said, it is way too many trucks. I saw it increasing over the years. And whenever I would be at my parents' home, leaving my parents' home, and again, these are recent pictures, and I started taking these pictures. There are more trucks, you know, I don't take pictures of all the ones that I see, but this is Wilbarger Street between Miller and Village Creek Road. So the highway is just a short distance, but they're using the street as a cut through. There is a park here. People cross from the north side, that neighborhood, to come to Village Creek Park. I have seen children on their bikes. I have seen parents pushing strollers, but this is what they have to contend with, all these trucks. So the other harmful impacts of these semi-trucks, the industrial trucks, again, is safety issues for pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists. It increases pollution. Pollution exacerbates existing health conditions, and that is well known. And it diminishes residential property values. We do not support the CUP. This community wants to thrive, as well as Echo Heights, and we need the city's assistance to do that. Thank you.
John McFarland is our next speaker, followed by Martasha James by phone.
Hello, John McFarlane again. Represent the Greater Fort Worth Sierra Club, who is a member of the Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities, which you've heard. All of us are speakers on this issue are within FWEC, the Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities. We're an environmental justice coalition fighting for environmental justice for Black and brown people in Fort Worth on the east side, and the south side, and the north side. We completely, well, as you can tell, we are asking for denial of this conditional use permit. I'm sure you know the definition of a CUP, but I'm going to read it out for everybody. Conditional use permit is a zoning exception that allows you to use your property in non-conforming ways. So this property is not set up. It does contain trucks right now, but I think the CUP is asking for 34 additional parking spaces for tractor trailers. And as you've heard, this will only exacerbate health issues, street issues, safety issues. And this community, Stop 6, Echo Heights, Village Creek, does not need any more trucks. It's ridiculous. I live in Fairmount, and I drove over there 2 years ago to start meeting with Tina, and Martasia, and I was absolutely overwhelmed by the number of trucks. I could not believe that people have to live in that kind of environment. Literally, trucks everywhere. And so I believe the Zoning Commission has recommended denial of this CUP, and we fully support that denial. Thank you.
Jeanette, our next speaker is Martasha James, followed by Charles Smith.
Ms. James?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marquetta James, and I'm speaking against the ZC-23, 165. We already have a number of violating truck companies and semi-truck parking areas in which do not follow proper guidelines when it comes to their existence within our neighborhood. Amongst there being multiple issues within our infrastructure, essentially because of the huge trucking operating already being housed within the area itself. Not to mention the series of quote-unquote conditional use we've been told before when it has already been made mention of the terminal illnesses and the decline in health in the community itself. We even have had the City of Fort Worth environmental guide to come out to Tahoe Drive this past March, attesting to the smell within the Echo Heights community itself. I walk my daughter up and down our community street. I run through our area as well, and can't even do that comfortably without running into truckers, and streets without sidewalks for me to run comfortably. Also, there is very little to no governing to ensure these people who are parking are indeed just doing that. So I am motion for against, and I ask that you guys side with us as well. Thank you.
Council, our last speaker on this item is Charles Smith. Mr. Smith?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Charles Smith, and I represent the Village Creek Neighborhood Association adjacent to Echo Heights. Semi-trucks and trailers damage and destroy our neighborhood streets by creating craters. Their presence lower our property values. They create safety hazards by speeding and ignoring speed limits. Our neighborhood disproportionately suffers from the diesel pollution. Thank you.
Councilman Martinez, that's the conclusion of our speakers on this item.
Mayor, I was told that the property owners here.
Oh, wait, we're fixing something. Mr. Burnham, come on down. I apologize, Jeanette.
Okay.
We had a little snafu between offices, so Mr. Burnham, you were signed up to speak on this item.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Lon Burnham. For the record, I've been here for almost ever. In fact, I've been fighting to clean up our air since 1975 when I came back from undergraduate studies. You know, we can't fix the sins of the past. They're history, they're there. But we can prevent the sins of the future. So I just am here to say that the Sierra Club, I'm on the Sierra Club PAC committee. Some of you have benefited from our support. We have been working in coalition with the Environmental Justice Coalition for 2 years now. This would be another sin if this zoning request is approved. So support your zoning commission's recommendation to deny. And if you need any studies, any more studies, I recommend the Cook Children's Hospital study, where they talk about 25% of the children in our community are asthmatic. As a lifelong asthmatic, I have to take drugs every day to live in this community because the air is so bad. So let's not committing the sins against our children. We have one of the highest asthma rates in the country. This must be denied. Thank you.
Councilman Martinez.
Mayor, Jeanette let me know that the property owners here, and if it's okay, Mr. Rhodey, if you have any comments you'd like to make?
Ms. James, this happens every single zoning night. The council member has absolute prerogative to talk with the developer or landowner. Nothing out of sorts, I assure you.
My name is Ronald Rhodey. I'm a partner in the Ownership LLC with my partner Mike Bell. And I just wanted to address some of the issues that were raised. You know, I think that we're the property owner, and any issues with the current tenant, who is a truck parking operator, that's what we came in to kind of clean this up. So we filed the code compliance issues. We've tried to file for eviction to evict this tenant. And only as a last resort, we filed outdoor storage. And so again, I want to clarify some of these concerns about truck parking, because when we worked with the city staff, who was very helpful, and Beth Knight did a wonderful job, you know, putting the site plan that is compliant with the CUP requirements, we talked about outside storage. And currently, there are no trucks being parked, there are no trailers, it is only being used for dumpsters. So there are some outdoor storage materials on site. So part of the site plan is outdoor storage. And that's something that was proposed and as the recommendation from Beth Knight to have just outdoor storage. So that's one issue regarding minimizing the truck traffic and not having any additional. Secondly, this is a fully industrial district. We are bounded by 4 sides by industrial. And so if you're unable to do outdoor storage or park trucks here, where else could we go that's not proper? Finally, the last issue that I do want to talk about, and you know, as I listen to the environmental concerns, I am sympathetic to that. I understand it. However, this site has 2 operational natural gas wells on site. And if anybody, you know, does research into these types of gas wells, they leak. Every type of gas well, natural gas, it leaks. And these are in operation, and they're pumping out fumes into the air that I would contend is more dangerous to their health, to the neighborhood and air quality. So instead, I've worked for over a year, since we bought the property, I've been in communication with the owner, who is a publicly traded British company, to get an agreement for them to cap the wells. They're under no legal obligation to cap it, but we got an agreement, and I have a contract that I can sign to cap those wells. And this kind of came up in the earlier issue, in the planning and zoning meeting, the commission. But basically, I think that our request to have outdoor storage and cap the wells, because we wouldn't be able to do anything with the site without the income. And that's the harsh kind of economic realities, is that we cannot cap the wells and do good for the local community, which I think is worse, without some type of approval to get income to pay for that capping cost.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. So, we do realize this is an industrial area, but we don't want to add more industrial business. And so with that, I'm going to be standing with the community and with zoning commission and their recommended denial. And I make a motion to deny with prejudice.
Second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-022.
Councilmember Larsdorf isn't present. I think Councilmember Boylock is going to handle this one. We have two speakers. The first is Susan Kinney by phone, followed by Joseph Hooten.
Ms. Kinney?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Parker and City Council. Good evening. My name is Susan Kenny, and I'm the president of the Park Glen Neighborhood Association. The proposed rezoning is located in the center of our community. Based upon input at a May 14th community meeting and review of the latest site plan proposal, the Park Glen Neighborhood Association Board of Directors strongly opposed this rezoning request. The Park Glen Neighborhood Association held a community meeting on May 14th, which was attended by the developer and 50 Park Glen and neighboring community residents. At this meeting, the developer explained their proposal and received input from the community. The residents clearly stated that they wanted the property to remain zoned community facilities. The reasons are as follows. Park Glen, a planned community developed by Hillwood Development in Fort Worth, was meticulously designed with a core zoned for community facilities. This pivotal location, intentionally placed at our community's heart, has historically served as a cornerstone for vital community roles. It transitioned from its original use as a YMCA to a Boy Scout activity center, and it currently operates as an I Explore Montessori school. Each iteration of use under the Community Facility Zoning District has provided indispensable services and benefits integral to our community's fabric. The proposed rezoning to E neighborhood commercial threatens to disrupt the delicate balance of community-oriented services and spaces in Park Glen. There is a saturation of retail in the vicinity. The other three corners of this intersection are also zoned E neighborhood commercial, and there are significant vacancies at two of these corners. Immediately east, there's a 38% vacancy rate, and diagonally across, there is a 55% vacancy rate, and immediately east of that, there's a 43% vacancy rate. At the closest main intersection to the north, at North Tarrant Parkway and Park Vista, all four corners are zoned E, with many of the establishments being of low quality, such as vape and smoke shops, and an entire building is vacant. To the west at Bassett and Beach Street, as well as at North Tarrant and Beach Street, all corners are zoned commercial, and there is a vacated building at each intersection. One of these vacated buildings is poorly maintained and an eyesore to the community. The current community facility zoning supports a diverse range of uses essential for the well-being and enrichment of our community members and is in conformance with our original master plan. We ask that you please deny this rezoning request. Thank you.
Joseph Horton.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Following with some of Susan's comments, my name is Joseph Hooten, not Horton.
Thank you very much. That's my bad.
This process goes way back to the beginning of March when the developer first initiated their zone change request. It was discovered in early April that they did not include all of the parcels of land that they were proposing to develop on. So they requested a 30-day continuance from the zoning commission, and it was thus granted. Came back in May, they decided that they needed another 30-day continuance at the urge of Councilman Larsdorf to come back and meet with the community and gather community input, of which they did so. As Susan alluded to that, we actually met with those folks on May 14th. 50 people were there, 50 people stood in opposition to their plan, provided them with a lot of different ideas that would better serve the community and remain within the zoning criteria of commercial or community facilities. They come back with another plan in early June. The Homeowners Association board met and obviously sent forward a request to the zoning commission to deny that because it did not meet any of the criteria. On July the 5th, I sent forward a series of petitions with 181 signatures of the residents of Park Glen, all standing in opposition of this. We would like to see this property remain as a community piece of property rather than retail. At this point, the community has spoken repeatedly. We're opposed to the zone change requests. Obviously, we want it to remain zoned to CF. It's in the community's best interest. There's a significant amount of vacant retail space in the area. Approximately 55% of all retail within a 1.5 mile radius of that facility is currently vacant and has been for a very long time. The opposing three corners are greater than 50% vacant. Many of the business owners are experiencing difficulties with vagrants and crime at their storefronts, interrupting their business on a day-to-day basis. I would urge the City Council to stand with the Zoning Commission's recommendation to deny this and allow us to move forward with this as a community interest piece of property. Thank you for your time.
Councilmember Blaylock, that's the last of our speakers on this item.
To thank Ms. Kinney and Mr. Hooten for coming down and speaking with us today. Councilman Lauersdorf, requested that I review this and requested that I respect the Zoning Commission's recommendation and the will of the community. So the motion is to deny with prejudice.
Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-027.
Councilmember Williams, our first speaker is Paul King, followed by Ben Rafe.
Mayor Parker and members of the council, good evening. I'm Paul King, 5533 Fogata Lane. My property, my back fence attaches to the proposal under consideration. Before I comment, I want to say to all of the officers present that I hope you know that all the citizens of Fort Worth stand with you today. I spoke at the May Zoning Commission meeting in vociferously opposing this proposal. And I promised myself and the developers that if we reached an effective compromise, I would come here tonight and speak in favor of it. Thanks to our council representative, Jared Williams, and his good offices and his effective leadership, we've met with this group, and I think that the proposal you have in front of you provides a very effective transition between the rural character of my neighborhood and the dense zones that are already under development or proposed to the south and west. My only caveat is that I would consider, were I you, in deference to the people who will be living in these homes, voting against this proposal tonight if in the future you plan to vote in favor of a multi-story, multi-tower data center directly across the street from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Our next speaker is Ben Rafe.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Ben Rafe, representing the developer and the property owner tonight, which is D.R. Horton. Thank you, Mr. King, for your words. So we're talking about Rock Creek Ranch tonight. We've had many meetings with the community. So Dr. Williams, your constituents have had fantastic involvement with it. And like Mr. King said, we've had lots of conversations, and where we started is not where we've ended up. And so I appreciate you, requiring these meetings and having all this input. So it's been fantastic. So as you know, Rock Creek Ranch has been in the works for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. Currently, what's out there now is the beginning of the development. So D.R. Horton has put their first phase on the ground. You'll start seeing rooftops here in a few months. Tarleton's broken ground on their second phase of the campus down there. So with this great development, we've got, hundreds of acres of parks and open space. We've got a new interchange at the highway, so this development will have its own connection directly to the highway. We've reserved land for a new fire and police station there too. So a lot of good stuff coming with this development. The proposal that we're here to discuss tonight is a change in zoning. So all the residential zoning that's out there today is considered A5. We're going to change that up a little bit in some of these areas to go higher density in some areas and lower density in some areas. So as shown on your screen here in the yellow would be 80, 85 foot wide lots, and then the remainder in purple would be a little bit higher density than what's out there today, 40 foot lots served by alleys. And that's our request this evening. And so here's kind of what that would look like. So similar to the 50-foot lots that's currently zoned today. And this provides a little more opportunity for D.R. Horton to reach a market that they may not otherwise in this bustling area of town. So here's kind of an example of what this product would look like. It's nice and clean in the front. All the alleys and the homes would be accessed from the rear, so it kind of cleans up the front of these new homes. And here's an example layout of what this would look like. So here you've got 50s on the right, 40s on the left. And here's what the 80-foot product would look like. So these will butt up to Panther Heights on the east side. Kind of what Mr. King alluded to is kind of some transitional size housing into the higher density development areas. So, we just request that you guys approve this, and if y'all got any questions, we're here. Thank you so much.
Councilman Williams.
Stay there, Ben. Can you keep the presentation up?
Sure.
For the folks who are here from the neighborhood, two questions. One question that did come up was the width of the streets in the A5 rear entry compared to a standard width in a front entry garage. Can you speak to that?
For sure. So we've made no request to change the standard development theme that the city requires today. So if you had a 60-foot wide lot or a 50-foot wide lot, the street cross-section, for lack of a better term, the roadway, the sidewalks, all of that will be the same in both developments. The only difference is the city does require rear entry on anything
shorter,
less than 50 feet wide. So, so we're obligated to basically put those in, but we're not modifying the overall standards of the development than what you would have already seen in this A5 scenario. Basically, the difference is we're moving it to alleys, and the lots are getting a little thinner.
Okay, great. And that by the lots getting thinner, that helps you to get the density that you're talking about.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. The second question I had that the neighbors brought up, can you all move forward to this the site plan? Yep, that one right there. We had talked as a neighborhood about not making a connection on Cavana Road, and y'all are amenable to that. Is that correct? Or dry? Yep, correct. Right.
Yes, sir. So as a requirement of the planning department, they require that stubs go through property lines, which is why that development today stubs to the south. But I'm sure we could work with staff to not make those connections.
Excellent. And if we don't make the connection, you would just make the lots wider, correct?
It would probably be reserved for an open space. There's quite a bit of drainage coming through there.
Oh, man. Great. Sounds good. That's it. Thank you for answering those questions. Also, just before I make a motion, I just want to commend y'all for the great lengths that y'all went to engage the community, and y'all did it willingly in the community, particularly Panther Heights Neighborhood Association stayed engaged along the entire process. And where we started certainly wasn't where we finished, and that was because of your intentionality in engaging with the neighbors' concerns and with their issues and then addressing them. So thank you for that. I'd also like to say to staff, this is a very innovative approach to addressing some of the conversations we've been having as a council about missing middle housing and ways to try to continue to figure out ways to promote density and get home, address the reality that home sales prices are going through the roof, and still trying to maintain an A5 product with density is not something I thought was achievable until y'all brought this idea forward. So thank y'all for that. With that, I have to make a lengthy motion per legal department, so bear with me, y'all. I make a motion to approve ZC 24027 with the following amended language to track 1 PDA5 plan development for all uses and A51 family residential with development standards for lot area, lot width, and lot coverage, site plan required. Track 2 PDA5 plan development for all uses and A51 family residential with development standards for lot area, lot width, and lot coverage, site plan required. Track 13, PDA 10, one family with a development standard not to allow a street connection with Cavana Drive, site plan required. And track 15, PDA 5, plan development for all uses in A5, one family residential with development standards for lot area, lot width, and lot coverage, site plan required. And that site plan is required so that the neighbors can get a second look at the site plan when y'all develop it.
Motion and a second, council. Any other discussion? Please vote. Carries.
Next item is ZC-24-031.
Our first speaker on this item, Councilmember Williams, is Linda Beckman, followed by David Beckman. I think they're speaking only if there's opposition, which there is. So I'll let Linda go first. Go ahead, please, go ahead. Hold on, she's gonna fix it for you. Now try. Nope, just went away. Now try.
Okay, thank you. I know that we have some speakers on this, and I did promise to my neighbors that I would say what I was going to do before we started that so that our neighbors could make a decision on whether or not they want to make the comment tonight or in 30 days. I'm going to be continuing this case. This is a complex and challenging case that required and still requires a great deal of time and effort to navigate. I'm really grateful for all of our District 6 neighbors who are here and have continued to stay engaged through multiple meetings and sharing your thoughts and concerns, as well as for the developers. I see Travis here for being willing to continue to have these conversations and make necessary adjustments to best accommodate the neighborhood desires. There have been many concerns with this case that have been brought up, like noise levels, traffic, heat generated by the building, family and health and quality of life issues related to EMF of the building that may or may not be generated, building height, and also connections to arterials. And so I think it's important that we make sure that all of the information is in the hands of our neighbors so that they can continue to engage and make an informed decision, whether up or down. And so this continuance isn't me indicating one way or another. It's just in the spirit of fairness, giving the neighborhood and the developer more time to make sure all of the questions are answered, and then we can make a decision going from there. So with that.
Thank you,
it's not the motion
Councilmember
yet, but I
Williams.
will. I'm
We
gonna
do have a few speakers. I think he's given you a pretty good indication on what he's going to do this evening, but the first speaker is Linda Beckman, followed by David Beckman. No here? Okay. Next would be Paul King. Very well, thank you. William Schwan. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Adrian Smith, followed by Erica Schwan.
Adrian Smith. Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. I forgot what my district was. I truly forgot what my district was. But this is my district, District 6, so I'm going to speak to this matter. I mean, I've been a resident of Fort Worth for 45 years, and I just totally forgot where I live, you know? So
He's fine.
as it relates to this particular item, Mr. Williams, even though we're going to do a continuation on it, even though there's a continuation, you know, there are three entities that play a part in this. There's the constituents, the community, the zoning, board and then you all. And like I stated before, you all had a discretion, regardless of whichever way the zoning board decides, whether in favor or against, you all had a discretion to override them. So the 30-day continuation is cool, but I kind of within myself kind of feel what's coming down the pipeline. So that's cool with the continuation. That's cool. But I want you to think about this. The previous MMC, the previous zoning case before this, the last time I was at this particular zoning hearing. This was my first zoning case, by the way. It will not be my last. But the Panther Heights community, I heard a gentleman speak as it relates to, they have water pressure issues over in that particular area. So before you all start thinking about bringing anything new online, I think the infrastructure needs to be addressed before the development comes, because the person that you appointed to the seat, he seems to think that development comes before infrastructure. So this is my district, District 6, to the constituents of district. This is my district. I live in the Como area. So yeah, I just wanted to put that on record that I forgot where I live. Sorry about that. But when I state that I am one with the people, that means that I'm concerned about the whole of Fort Worth, not just a portion of Fort Worth, District 8 representative. And in closing, we had public comments coming, Mayor, so I'll say what I need to address to you.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
But in closing, I just wanted to read something somebody sent me. They said that the builder that I spoke on was a friend of Gina's. He wrote a hot check to the city for another piece of property bought in Stop 6. They gave him grace on clearing up that matter, all documented. Man, I didn't know we let developers bounce checks around this city. And Madam Mayor, I'm 45 years old of age. I'm not a child of yours, okay? I'm not a child of yours. But you have a good night, and Mr. Nettles.
Our next
I ain't
speaker
hard
is
to find.
Erica Schwan, followed by Casey McGovern. Thank you very much. And Casey McGovern. Thank you. Councilmember Nettles, it's the conclusion of our speakers on this item. I'm sorry. Got lots to say tonight. I apologize. Councilmember Williams, the floor is yours.
Oh, man, thank you, man. That was a good laugh. I've moved to continue this into the next zoning case.
We've got a motion and a second. Council, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-046.
Councilmember Hill, we have one speaker on this item. Only if there's opposition. To my knowledge, there is none, but Lydia Ricard. Councilmember Hill.
Joy, thank you for being here. I move to approve ZC 24-046.
Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-047.
The speakers on this item, Councilmember Nettles.
Move to approve.
Motion and a second. Please vote.
It's okay.
Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-051.
Motion and a second. Please vote.
Next item is ZC-24-054.
We have no speakers on this item. Councilmember Nettles.
My mic is on now. Move to approve.
On approve? Sorry,
Yep.
I missed that. Okay, motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-056.
We have no speakers on this item. Council member, sorry, I'm slow here. 5-6. Can you move the agenda? Sorry about that. Thank you.
Councilmember
Councilmember
Martinez.
Martinez. Motion and a second. Council, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-057.
We have no speakers on this item. Councilmember Nettles. Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-058.
Councilmember Flores, we have two speakers on this item. The first is Melissa Wade Hunter, followed by Paul Payne.
My name is Melissa Wade Hunter, P.O. Box 470243, Fort Worth, Texas 76147, 817-999-0746. I'm here speaking on behalf of the North Fort Worth Historical Society. The society supports the city's proposed amendment. In this case, the proposal will give all property owners more advantages in developing new properties and making renovations, additions to the existing properties. And we also hope the form-based code is followed in all development. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Paul Payne, but only wanted to speak if there's opposition. To my knowledge, there is none. Councilmember Flores.
All right, thanks, Mayor. Before I articulate my motion, I want to thank Melissa for coming tonight in support and for your work at the Stockyards Museum. Also want to acknowledge folks here, Paul Payne, president of Stockyards, Inc., who is here tonight. Thank you, Paul. Ruth Hooker was here earlier. She's a small business owner of Hooker's Grill on West Exchange and was also very involved in following this case. Billy Newby, who's here, developer representative, thank you as well. And he was here just a moment ago, but I thought I saw Don Jury as well. Was he here? Okay. Well, all right. So in approving this amendment to the Stockyards Form-Based Code and Design Guidelines, the historic district boundaries are extended, which is something that we could never find consensus on, it seemed, when we first engaged on this topic back in 2016, when we were working on design standards and guidelines. Additionally, what this also takes care of and cures are the differences in height between the transition and edge districts in the stockyards. So we're normalizing them to 55 feet, or in other words, 4 stories. And that's going to help development along the way across the stockyards. The Stockyards is a national historic district, as we all know, and it's very unique in Fort Worth. We on council have assumed the role of keeping that commitment to the residents of Fort Worth. And tonight is another example in keeping with that commitment, so we can continue in a manner and per a plan that preserves, protects its history now and for future generations. So with that, I move to approve.
Second. Motion and a second. Council, please vote. And carries.
Next item is ZC-24-059.
Motion and a second. Please vote. It's only his opposition. There's none. Yeah, he's done. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-060.
Councilmember Bivens, we have no speakers on this item. Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-061.
Councilmember Martinez, we have a few speakers on this item. Our first speaker is Chris Jones, followed by Letitia Wilburn.
right, again, my name is Chris Jones. I am the Vice President of Echo Heights Neighborhood Association, and I live in Fort Worth near the case in question. This case is regarding Abrams Expedited Trucking Company at 4812 Parker Henderson Road that backs up against Echo Heights residents with virtually no space between the company and the backyards of the residents. You've all heard about the environmental impact of industrial and commercial companies in our area, and none of that has changed. But imagine walking outside on your Saturday morning, to enjoy spring or fall weather. It's quiet, it's peaceful, it's relaxing, and then you open your back door. Trucks are idling, vibrating, your coffee, you're so eager to drink. You get to enjoy staring at the back doors of different trailers like you see in that picture. You even get the privilege of being able to hear workers banging on their equipment around, totally disrupting that beautiful image of what you looked forward to all week. The debris that's gonna float in your cup of coffee, the particulate that's gonna be the blessing that you get every time you cough. This relaxing cup of coffee on your back porch in the beautiful spring or fall weather, you currently will never get to see. ZC 24061 gives hope that this may change by moving the zoning for the property from an industrial status back to a residential. If the company ever chooses to leave, they can't come back and disrupt that beautiful day. Echo Heights Neighborhood Association members support this zoning change and moving it from industrial to residential to have the chance to enjoy that morning cup of coffee or even that late hot cocoa later in the cooler days to come. On a personal note related to this case, I sit on my back porch every morning before I go to work. I enjoy my cup of coffee on Saturday and Sunday mornings. I felt offended by the comments of the representative from Abrams Expedited at the zoning commission meeting. I don't live in a Section 8 home, and I'm not a crackhead, as their comments so blatantly defined. I am not, neither are any of the members of the Echo Heights Neighborhood Association that I'm representing today. This same representative stated that they run business only during operating hours. However, in this picture, the truck idling is just after 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning. It was there on the way to take my sister-in-law to work before 6 a.m. This picture was taken upon returning from taking her to work. You can see the timestamp at 6:12 a.m. I don't believe that the representation of Abrams Expedited was truthful when they stated operating in operating hours, as he described. These people have been hateful, they've been disrespectful and spiteful toward Echo Heights residents, and even bringing hateful speech and disrespecting to members of the zoning commission and more. They don't seem to feel that laws apply to them. And if they don't like the neighborhood that they chose to operate, then by all means, move out. As Vice President of the Echo Heights Neighborhood Association, we support motion ZC 24061 in moving from a commercial to a residential property. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Letitia Wilburn, followed by Richard Perez.
Okay, Letitia Wilborn, as you know, all of y'all know I live directly behind this company. When I came here to speak the last time, the company owner referred to us as crackhead Section 8. For his information, I'm a retired deputy sheriff, 32 years of law enforcement experience. This community has raised teachers, engineers, professional athletes, doctors, nurses, novelists. We've had all types of professions to come from this community. So for him to berate this community is total insanity. I put this picture up here because, as you can see, this is my daily life. There's the creepy dude. There was actually two creepy dudes looking in my backyard while I'm in my backyard minding my own business. I ask that this be approved, but I also ask that y'all never, ever put this in anybody else's backyard. Just imagine if this was you, your children, your nieces, your grandparents. Let's imagine if this is anybody that you love every day, every evening, every night. This is what they see. And I've been called worse things by this company. So this is like, y'all should never, ever do this to anyone else. When the citizens complain about things that this company does, like their violations and things like that, this company come back and harass the communities. If you come to my backyard now, there's a camera pointed directly at my backyard. All because I asked that they cut the grass and clean up in the space between our properties. Keep in mind, these people are so aggressive and they are so negative, and when Encore and AT&T have to get to the area back there, they come through my backyard. So my concern is not only for my safety, but for the safety of people that have to go back there. So you all should think twice. From this point on, y'all should come up with a plan not to put industrial so close to people. Now, I know that zoning it doesn't mean that this company will leave, but when a company is a nuisance and a threat and harass the people in the community, and they run all night long, and they purposely make noise, there should be something that the city should be able to do to protect its citizens. This is insane, it's insanity. If you go back and look at the tapes from the commission, zoning commission hearing, y'all will see how belligerent this company was. And that was on TV, that was on record. Just imagine when it's just me there and no one there recording, no one's there to listen. I cannot enjoy my backyard. I cannot have my grandchildren go in my backyard.
Thank you, Ms. Wilburn. Our next speaker is Richard Perez. Is Mr. Perez here?
He's by phone, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Before you call on him, sorry, Mr. Perez, just a moment. I want Dr. Wittenberg to come down in a minute. I just want some clarification. I think most of the speakers are for this down zoning that was recommended for approval by the zoning commission. This is a city-initiated zoning, down zoning, which is what the neighborhood has wanted. I just want clarification from the dais, because if you're not following this issue as closely as Councilor Martinez, that might be murky in some of the comments. Yes. So Cody, maybe you can save a seat. In a minute, I'll have you come back down. Go ahead to Richard Perez.
Mr. Perez?
Yes, I'm here. Once again, this is approval. I'm in favor of approval for ZC 24061, the site location 4812 Parker Henderson Road, which is the topic of conversation, and the request from I Light Industrial to A51 family. I think this is a great move in the right direction. It doesn't fully resolve the situation, but it is a right move. Of course, we know that the business continues to operate there, but at least the carte blanche development or overdevelopment of an industry there, there's somewhat restriction there with this. So I encourage the council to vote in favor of this change. And, we talk a little bit about environmental justice, and it's a topic that's come up. It's something that the Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities wants included in the comprehensive plan. But what this moves is somewhat in that description. Not completely, but it's a step in the right direction. And again, I just want to just voice my, again, support of this change of this light industrial to A51 family. Thank you.
Our next speaker is John McFarland, followed by Charles Smith.
Hello, third time's a charm. Let's get all three of these right. First of all, I want to thank Councilmember Martinez and Councilmember Beck for motioning and seconding the Cary Road Cup denial. So I appreciate that, ladies. Thank you very much. Again, representing the Fort Worth Environmental Coalition of Communities, thank you, Councilmember Martinez, for making this initiative to downzone from industrial to residential. We just have to wait for the company to leave, and hopefully that's sooner than later. But I would appreciate y'all listening to Ms. T over here regarding the harassment and all the things. There's compliance issues with this company the city needs to look into, and I'm sure Mr. Wittenberg will do that. So about idling and washing trucks, that all the water from the dirty trucks go into Miss T's yard. And that's not healthy because it's got filled with diesel particulate matter. So just to make a short story, I do appreciate this downzoning and fully support the change in zoning. So thank you very much.
Next speaker is Charles Smith.
Charles Smith, representing the Village Creek Neighborhood Association. I would like to express my appreciation to Councilmember Martinez, and I'm in agreement for approving this because it's the right thing to do for our neighborhood. Thank you.
Councilmember Martinez, it's the conclusion of our speakers on this item. Cody, if you don't mind, come to the dais. I know that that Councilman Martinez has worked incredibly hard with the Echo Heights neighborhood and do a few things. Is there anything you might add for context that might be important or helpful to the audience that's watching?
I would just point out that I think we started these conversations with my office March a year ago, and we've been working to make some very positive changes with the community and with Council District 11. And I feel like this is an opportunity to continue to move in the right direction to make those positive changes. I also have LaShondra here to talk a little bit more about what that downzoning looks like.
Thank you.
Yes, so the property is being zoned, of course, from industrial to a residential zoning, which is definitely compatible with the property that is behind them as well as the property that adjoins them. Again, it is city-initiated zoning. The existing development will become non-conforming, but once the use does cease, then the property can convert to a single-family use.
Thank you. Councilman Martinez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So, like it was already said, this is a council-initiated rezoning that came out of the comprehensive plan last year. And so I just want to thank staff, Dana, Eric, Cody, for not only working with the community, but for your help in bringing this zoning case to council today for a vote. And with that, I motion to approve.
Motion and a second, council. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-062.
Councilmember Hill, we have a few speakers on this item. The first speaker is Darren Norman, followed by Lindsay Jones.
Good evening. My name is Darren Norman, 2013 Thomas Place. I'm here speaking tonight representing the owner of the property as well as the purchaser of the property. Let me get my buttons down. A little bit of history of the significant dates of this case. We've met multiple times with members of the Neighborhood Association and area stakeholders. We participated in open dialogue with their leadership about our goals and to align our plans with their priorities. We've listened to the concerns of the immediate neighbors and incorporated their comments into our proposed site plan. We've received letters of support from the Camp Bowie District and the Arlington Heights Neighborhood Association. And we have attempted to communicate since the zoning commission hearing multiple times with adjacent property owner Mike Delusk, but have not heard back from him despite our best efforts to communicate with him. This request is a cooperative effort between adjacent business owners to preserve this vacant building that you see right here at 5013 El Campo for adaptive reuse. Should this request be denied, this building will likely be demolished to address the parking needs of the Origin Bank building and the Happy Lark building. I'll show those pictures next. Public street parking is already strained in this area by local businesses and those operating at 5017 and 5023 El Campo further down the street. So this case is a kind of a swap for the use of this building and revitalization of the building and finding an alternative parking scenario for the community property owners or business owners. This is the building right next door, the Happy Lark. The little interior of this building has been revitalized by Lindsay Jones, who's here to speak later today about it. This is one of the vital local businesses that serves our community.
This is the bank building adjacent to that property. It's occupied currently by the tenant of Origin Bank, and this is their parking area. Directly across the street from this is the proposed site. The proposed site abuts investment properties. I've got them labeled here, as you can see. These have never been owner occupied by the current owners, and they have been leased to tenants, occupants for several decades. This is the complete site plan that was submitted to the city and meets all the CUP requirements, and we are seeking a 10-year CUP allowing auxiliary parking, not changing the base zoning category. We are not requesting any waivers. Since the meeting of the area stakeholders, we have incorporated their comments and requests for an 8-foot fence, for tree preservation, relocation of the parking access aisle, and incorporation of a storm drainage path. We've heard their concerns for area flooding, and we are willing to install alternative pervious surfaces. However, at this time, we're providing the standard city requirement and not seeking waivers in order to avoid delays to the property purchase. We're willing to return at a later date for that waiver, but cannot
Thank you,
survive a
Mr.
delay in
Norman.
the zoning.
Our next speaker is Lindsay Jones, followed by Lydia Ricard.
Hi, I am Lindsay Jones. I'm a small business owner here in Fort Worth. I own a business called The Play Space and The Play Pocket, both of which support the youngest members of our community. My business partner, Suzanne Fluke, is here, and she and I purchased the building at 5015 El Campo in May of last year. We've restored the building, which now is the home to our 2 small businesses. She owns the Happy Lark, and I own the Play Pocket, and those are inside of that space. We are partnering with Inner City Investments. Nick is also here from Inner City, and another small business in our strip to, we're working on this project together to allow the restoration of 5013, which is in the middle of our strip of small businesses. Instead of tearing down that cute historic home on Camp Bowie, we'd love to bring another complementary small business to our neighborhood and support the area in front of Camp Bowie. So please consider supporting our CUP to allow us to add this other small business to our area. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Lydia Ricard, followed by Stephen Darling.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Lydia Guajardo-Rickard. I'm the Executive Director of Camp Bay District, Inc. We are a not-for-profit and a special assessment district. We oversee 322 properties within the 6-mile corridor. Our job is to advocate and help promote our local businesses. Many of the businesses along the boulevard are long-time and generational businesses, and we look for ways at which we can support them and provide other opportunities for them to expand and grow. About 2 years ago or 3 years ago when I came on board, we had several blighted blocks that were vacant or had buildings in disrepair. We have marked those blocks and looked at them for significant turnover. This is one of those blocks that has enjoyed that. The ability to provide auxiliary parking in a strained parking area would allow for additional business to further occupy instead of reducing the amount of neighborhood commercial that we have currently on the district. So that being said, we would ask that you would consider the support of this rezone so that we can remove curbside parking from the neighborhood, which has long time been a complaint of the neighborhood, and that we can allow further business to expand and grow within this area. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Councilmember Hill? No. Next speaker is Stephen Darling, followed by Mike Dulski. He'll fix it when he gets up here. Oh, well, you can correct me, please. Thank you very much. Delesk, got it.
Good evening,
Stephen.
Mayor and members of City Council. Again, we are here today again on a CUP, and when you have to consider a CUP, Fort Worth City Council is guided by the Fort Worth City Code, specifically 4.407 D1A through E. Now, if you don't know what that is off the top of your head, don't worry, I've got a copy to read off. And again, if I sound like I'm speaking legalese, well, I am Mr. Delusk's attorney. But the primary thing that this council should be thinking about is that the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan, that the proposed use is compatible with the existing and adjacent uses, that the proposed use meets all supplemental use standards, not necessarily at issue today, that proposed use is compatible with and preserves the character and integrity of the neighborhood, and then finally, that it won't be materially detrimental to the public health and safety of neighboring properties. If you take a look at the staff packet that should already have been circulated, there are a number of inconsistencies with those factors that are in that staff packet. Namely, stormwater has mentioned that there is flooding that does exist, and as the site plan is currently before City Council, there isn't anything to adjust that. Now, we certainly appreciate all the efforts that the neighborhood intends to make, or excuse me, rather those small businesses that are there, but the people who live here are the people who should be heard from, and Mr. Delusk will be speaking just after me. Mr. Nettles was absolutely right in that the people who have to go home and live near this property will have to deal with it forevermore. So on that note, while the Neighborhood Association may have submitted an additional letter of support, neighbors who are actually part of the property submitted in correlation with 211.006D, specifically a written protest of this, which also requires now a supermajority of this council in order to approve that. So again, the people who do live here, who are going to go home to this particular addition, they're the ones who say, hey, we really don't want this. In the same way that the Neighborhood Association mentioned in the letter that should still be in the council's record, that it would cause issues to flooding, that it would cause issues to property values, and that technically this could be a very temporary business that's leaving a very permanent impact. Again, nothing is bad about what it is that they're doing in terms of their business, but their business is not the factors that City Council is supposed to be thinking about. Factors that are espoused in these guidelines, in what City Council passed so long ago, say that you're supposed to be thinking about specifically the people who live there and the impact it'll be on them. From now, you'll hear from Mr. Delusk, again, the person who is going to be there, and we ask that City Council does deny this as it stands. Thank you.
Mike Delusk.
Ms. Parker, Gagum. Guys, thank you for having me tonight. I'm Mike Delusk. I own the property at 4933 El Campo. And yes, me and my neighbors are directly impacted by this. I'm a small business owner. I'm sensitive to small business, and I appreciate that. But we are directly impacted by this. The comment was made that these were investment properties. That's wholly incorrect. My mother-in-law has lived there. My sister-in-law has lived there. I've tried to get my daughter home now for 7 years from Houston. I promised her that house. I haven't even had the guts to tell her, oh, by the way, there may be a parking lot next to it, okay? So I ask you for a little empathy. Ms. Hill, when I spoke to you last week, I told you I had comments from the city. Well, you know, it could be worse. So I'm asking you for a little empathy as you think about this vote. A couple things I want to address. The precedent this sets of allowing commercial on the residential. If you see what that cost that lot is, it's not going to be a temporary permit, guys. People don't pay that kind of money. I'm in construction, I know, and then put a lot on that. It's not going to be a temporary. It's permanent. Let's be honest about what that really is, okay? There are 8 to 9 parking spots that could be had on El Campo or Pentecost. The bank is rarely ever full at all. I don't understand why we can't be using those spots versus impacting us and my neighbors. You've spoke about the known flooding issues. Those are a problem. Ask folks on Birchman. They struggle even more with the flooding issues. We're going to add to that. How are they going to maintain it? I don't know this person. I can tell you just mischaracterized my involvement. I reached out to him for some information because the city was late in getting this information to me. He then mischaracterized this at the Planning and Zoning Commission that I was a willing participant input. That's not true. Didn't make any sense for me then to interact with him because I wasn't sure what else he might say now. Okay? Property value hit. Would you want a parking lot next to your property? Seriously, would you want a parking lot next to your property? Please don't tell me it's probably going to increase the value of my property. all right? It's over after tonight. You guys get to go home. I don't. I have to live at the parking lot potentially next to my property. Again, I'm gonna ask you, think about with empathy. I'm asking you to think about that. I have to tell tonight, if I lose here tonight, if we lose here tonight, and the citizens around us lose tonight, tell my daughter. Oh, by the way, we've been trying to get you home from Houston for 7 years, and now you have a parking lot next to a place where you're gonna have your family, start your family with your husband you got married to last year. All right? Guys, I just ask you to consider that. I'm asking you to vote, deny it with prejudice. Thank you.
Councilmember Hill, that's the last of our speakers on this item.
Well, thank you, Suzanne and Lindsay, Darren, Lydia. I appreciate y'all speaking on behalf of the Happy Lark and Inner City. Mr. Delesk, I hear you. We had a great phone conversation. I appreciate you coming this evening. The facts are this is a vacant lot. It's a vacant lot in a neighborhood that has parking issues. There are cars on the street. There's a 44-door apartment right across the street from your properties. It is not zoned A5. It's currently zoned C. So there could be a 2-story townhome that could go in there at any time. You could lose, I think, any value that you have there with additional density coming in. And I don't really appreciate the looks or the eye roll. I'm going to move to approve this, but I'm going to ask it to be a 10-year cup instead of a 5-year, and that's my motion.
Motion and a second, please vote.
Next item is ZC-24-064.
Councilmember Blaylock, we have one speaker on this item. It is Michael Clark, only if there's opposition.
So is Michael still here? Yep. If you could come up for just a moment. I appreciate you spending your evening here, only if there's opposition, but I think this deserves a small amount of comment. So would you please tell us what you're going to do?
Certainly. Good evening. My name is Michael Clark. I'm with Winkleman and Associates, 6750 Hillcrest Plaza, Suite 215, Dallas 75230. Here representing the developer of the property at the northeast corner of Sendero Ranch and Rancho Canyon for a national grocery store and fuel center and several pad sites. That is the request before you this evening to allow that zoning to take place. Lennar has coordinated with my client to remove some of their single-family lots that they probably came before you a while back for something anyway. So we're working with them and have that worked out to once we get the zoning to move forward with the grocery store. And I'm happy to answer any specific questions I might.
So what's the closest grocery store to that location right now? Do you know offhand? So it's a little bit away.
Yes.
Okay, so this will be very close to a very large community, and had tons of feedback that's all very much supportive. So thank you for being here this evening, and I motion to approve enthusiastically.
Motion and a second, please vote.
Thank you, sir.
Chair is not present. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-24-069.
Councilmember Blaylock, we have no speakers on this item.
So this is a modification to the Northwest Park, and that covers Macy's and Mize districts. So I'm going to motion to approve.
Motion and a second, please vote.
Next item is ZC-24-087.
Motion and a second, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is M&C 24-0617.
Mayor Pro Tem, there are no speakers on this item.
Microphone on. I would state for the record, this development that's going to be built is being named after Don Babers, who was the regional administrator for housing and urban development. It is because of Mr. Babers that the city of Houston was able to recover after Hurricane Katrina, as President Bush dispatched him to Houston, and he led that rebuild. We were blessed to have him serve as a consultant for the city of Fort Worth and Fort Worth Housing Solutions. And with his passing, this is one way Fort Worth Housing Solutions President Mary Margaret Lemon and myself want to honor the memory of Mr. Babers. And with that, I move for approval.
Motion and a second. Please vote.
Next item is MNC 24-0686.
Mayor Pro Tem Bivens.
Do we have the developers present?
I see Maggie and I see Jeremis both here, yes.
Maggie, can you come down to the microphone? Jeremis, please come to the microphone. I will tell you, back in the late 80s, the late 1980s, we had a Dairy Queen on Stall Cup and Berry, and it burnt, but not to the ground. And it was in 2013, I was able to demolish that Dairy Queen. And there were several people who signed up and volunteered to bring a development. One was a dry cleaners. That was only going to employ a small family. The other was a convenience store, which would have brought much of the same that we saw across the street. But one thing Mr. Adrian Smith was on the mark about tonight when he talked about that strip shopping center across the street. Many people know Happy Baggett, the late Happy Baggett, was a developer who brought the largest Walmart in urban USA. It's in Renaissance Square. And when we demolished the Dairy Queen, Happy Baggett said, Gino, I can bring you a development here, but what are you going to do about that across the street? And so what we can do now, because of your efforts, is bring about a facade grant opportunity for that strip across the street. Ladies first, Maggie, please state for the record what you guys are going to be building there. And Jeremis, I'll ask you to speak to your inspiration and what you're doing as well. Maggie Parker from Dallas.
Good evening, Council. My name is Maggie Parker. My company is Innovon Neighborhood, and happy to be partnering with Councilwoman Bivens and Jeremy Smith on this development. We have formed a joint venture to do mixed income housing in the community, both through townhomes and live-work units that will allow for small businesses as well as market rate and affordable housing in the area. And so we're excited to be partnering with you all on this venture.
Thank you. Jeremis.
So I want to speak towards my neighborhood for a second. I actually grew up 8 houses away from this development. I actually witnessed my uncle die of drugs from the happenings, from the plaza across the street. Mm-hmm. So this is an emotional investment for me, more than it is a capital investment. For Maggie and I, this is not about a financial gain. We're actually, with partnership in the city, we're actually donating money back to this development to keep this affordable. And I've preached all along, this is not for us. This is for the kids and giving them hope, giving them a different perspective, because our neighborhood has been the same since Ramey Place. I mean, and that was almost 3 decades ago. This will be our first new subdivision for sale, offering generational wealth to our neighborhood. So I'm honored and I'm proud to be doing this with you all. And for the naysayers, I am probably the biggest black man in Stop 6. I welcome all narrative and all correspondence to myself. Anybody that wants to come and talk, I'm wide open. Everybody knows how to speak, get a hold of me. And I'm honored to speak towards this development. So please, if anybody has any naysaying, come to me. I'm open to any way we can make our neighborhood a better place. I'm open for any idea and any opinion. So thank you all, and I'm honored to be doing this with Maggie.
But Jeremis, how many homes has your group built so far throughout Stop 6? I know you're on Dillard and other streets.
So we've done about $3.5 million worth of new homes so far. Mm-hmm. And we revitalized the commercial space that we acquired from the city of Fort Worth that used to be a criminal activity.
Can you and Maggie see the picture on the screen?
Yes.
That was the evening that the community, after listening to their presentations, decided to do something very unusual. And the community supported the idea of two competing developers form one entity. And so you guys can have a seat. Thank you for being here. And for those of you who don't know, I lost a cousin right across the street in that same strip shopping center. He was collared and killed by a convenience store operator. I'll never forget it. And so for me, it is just as passionate. I'm just as excited. And I want to thank Jeremy for coming together with Maggie. Maggie has a very positive, impressive record in her building multifamily in Dallas. And you can go all throughout Stop 6 and see signs of Jeremy's. And with that, I move for approval.
Motion and a second. Council, please vote. Motion carries. Congratulations, Mayor Pro Tem.
Next item is M&C 24-0689.
A motion and a second. Council, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is M&C 24-0690.
Councilmember Beck. Okay.
Oh, now I'm logged out. Great. All right. I think we got it now. Thank you. This is such an exciting vote for me, and I see that we have members from the Center for Transforming Lives and folks that helped make this transaction possible with us here in the audience today. We are finally going to have a downtown library again. Thank you. It is long overdue. I know it took a little longer than everybody would have liked, myself included. I really want to thank our staff. I see Marilyn sitting there. Thank you so much for all of the, and Midori in the back, our library director, everyone that didn't give up on finding a location for a downtown library. And the first couple fell through, and I think it happened the way it should, because the location that we landed on could not be more perfect for a beautiful historic downtown library. And not only will we return that service to downtown, but the proceeds of that sale help the Center for Transforming Lives continue their mission in Councilmember Nettles' district. So with that, I enthusiastically move to approve.
Second. Motion and a second. Council, please vote. Motion carries. Congratulations, everyone.
Next item is M&C 24-0696.
A motion and a second. Council, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is M&C 24-0691.
Councilmember Larsdorf is not present. I don't know if you want to make a
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next items, M&C 24-0692, 0693, 0694 will be acted upon by one motion, Mayor.
Councilmember Martinez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I move that the Fort Worth City Council adopt the resolution authorizing use of eminent domain to acquire the following: 0.005 acres and permanent sewer easement at 2333 Emily Drive in the 40 Oaks Edition, Block 1, Lot 7, Tarrant County, Texas, owned by Maria G. Silva. 0.006 acres and permanent sewer easement at 2405 Emily Drive in the 40 Oaks Edition, Block 1, Lot 9, Tarrant County, Texas, owned by Ruben Padilla and Ana Padilla. The land rights in the subject properties are needed for the sanitary sewer rehabilitation contract 90, Part 2 project, a public use proposed future easement that will repair damaged sewer lines, allow better flow within the sewer pipes, and help prevent sewer backups between Station 2 and 17 and 2 and 77 on Lot 3824. The property interest to be acquired is described by meets and bounds and depicted by survey exhibits attached to the mayor and council communications, and .017 acres in permanent sewer easement at 2620 East Arlington Avenue in the Hyde Park Addition, Block 4, Lot 77, Tarrant County, Texas, owned by Joey Alexander Esquivel and Stephanie D. Esquivel. The land rights in the subject property are needed for the sanitary sewer rehabilitation contract 100 project, public use that will upgrade and repair the permanent sewer line facility. The property interest to be acquired is described by meets and bounds and depicted by survey exhibits attached to the mayor and council communications. This motion indicates the first record vote applies to all units of property to be condemned, and the minutes shall reflect that the first vote applies to all those units.
Thank you, Councilmember Martinez. We've got a motion and a second, council. Please vote. The motion carries.
Next item is MNC 24-0693.
Councilmember Bivens. Please vote.
Next item, oh, sorry, that should have been.
24-0688, yeah.
Next item is MNC 24-0695.
Council, please vote. Motion carries.
Mayor, that concludes all of the action items.
Thank you, everyone, for attending tonight. We are concluding our meeting in honor of Sergeant Billy Randolph, who was a remarkable husband, father, grandfather, brother, friend, and of course, our Fort Worth police officer. His impact was felt deeply in every aspect of his life, and he will be profoundly missed. Let this serve as a reminder to cherish every moment we have with our loved ones and to give thanks to the men and women who are willing to put on a uniform every single day to serve this city. Tomorrow, we have a candlelight vigil that we held at Fort Worth PD South Division at 7:30 p.m., which is on the date actually would have been Sergeant Randolph's birthday. Services are this Saturday, August 17th at Christ Chapel Church at 10 a.m. Our thoughts and prayers are with Sergeant Randolph's family and the Fort Worth PD during this difficult time. Thank you, and meeting is adjourned.